The road has been good to the Athletics so far in 2014. After a sweep in Cleveland over the weekend, the Green and Gold have a 16-6 record away from the Coliseum. The offense is red hot as everybody is contributing throughout the lineup. They're taking advantage of other teams' miscues, waiting out pitchers, and pouncing at just the right time. Tonight, Bob Melvin and the boys take their show to St. Petersburg, Florida to take on the Rays, a place where they haven't had great success as of late, but will look to continue this incredible run away from home. Game 1, A's-Rays, next. Well, stop 2 on this 3-city trip for the A's is St. Petersburg, Florida, Tropicana Field. We're getting set for game 1 of the 3-game set. It's the Oakland A's and the Tampa Bay Rays coming up on Comcast Sportsnet, California. Hi again, everybody. Welcome to Oakland A's baseball. Along with Ray Fosse, I'm Glenn Kuiper. No big secret, the A's are on a roll. Offensively, everybody's hot, but nobody is hotter than Brandon Moss. He's your AL Player of the Week.
And very deserving, not only for the week, but the whole season. How about 39 runs batted in for Brandon Moss? What he did in Cleveland over the weekend was outstanding. You see the numbers for him. This was probably the loudest ball we have heard in a long time. Turned out to be a double down the line. How about a 2-run home run to give the A's the lead? But I thought the most impressive was an intentional walk to Josh Donaldson, a pass ball, put a couple of runners at second and third, hanging slider from Josh Outman, and a 2-run double off the left-hander from Brandon Moss. So a tremendous week for him. Congratulations for an outstanding week.
Drew Pomeranz will make the start tonight, his 3rd of the year. And Ray, he may not be ready to throw 110 pitches yet, but he's getting there.
He's getting close, 68 to 82, so maybe 90 plus, but he has done an outstanding job, and again, pitching out of the stretch exclusively and using the fastball, not taking anything away from his fastball out of the stretch all the time. Knuckle curveball, change up occasionally. He's enjoying being in the rotation, and I think that's the most important thing because he stepped in the second game of the doubleheader. This is just his 3rd start, looking for his 4th win overall in the season. Doing a great job for the A's.
A's have won 3 in a row. They've won 9 out of 10, and man, they are rolling. They'll see if they can keep it going here in St. Petersburg. Up next, we'll head back inside the A's pregame live studios for Sports Update, then back to St. Petersburg for A's baseball.
Comcast Sportsnet California is brought to you by Jack in the Box. Head to Jack in the Box and try the new Jack's Blazing Chicken Sandwich. It's Jack's hottest sandwich yet. And by Toyota, #1 in MPG, durability, and resale value. Toyota, let's go places.
Welcome back inside Tropicana Field here in St. Petersburg as we're just moments away from the start of Game 1 of this 3-game series between the Oakland A's and the Tampa Bay Rays. Rays take the field, so let's check the game time weather presented by the Santa Cruz Beach Boardwalk. Get to the beach. The admission-free boardwalk is open daily starting Friday, May 23rd. Of course, we are indoors. The temperature outside is 84 degrees. It was a very nice day yesterday for the A's off day here in Florida, and another nice day today. So the A's are smoking hot, and they just, they plowed right through Cleveland and just beat up on the Indians. Off day yesterday, and they'll try to keep it going here tonight against the Rays. The A's lineup tonight looks like this. Crisp, the center fielder. Jaso, the DH. Donaldson is third. Moss will play first, then Cespedes in left. The heart of the order is knocking in runs left and right. Reddick in right. Norris will catch. Punto's at short, and Sogard is at second.
And the young man, as he's referred to by Chili Davis, as over easy. Jake Odorizzi is the starting pitcher, and as Chili did, he simplified it. Just say over easy. Just make it simple. But he had a good game, a very good game against the Mariners in his last start. 1 hit in 6 innings, 95 pitches. The A's are sitting for the first time. And they will see a low mid-90s fastball, a couple of different fastballs, curveball, slider, just throw a split finger fastball for his changeup. So we shall see, and let's hope it's not like the cue of the Houston Astros, who the A's did not fare well against in Houston as he started against them for the first time.
Here's the defense for the Rays. Brendan Geyers in left, Desmond Jennings in center, Will Myers in right. Longoria at third, Escobar at second, Escobar at short, Rodriguez at second, Loney at first. Molina is doing the catching. Remember, Ben Zobrist is on the disabled list, so the Rays playing without one of their better everyday players. Zobrist out, and he will not play in this series. So throw down to second base, and we're ready for baseball from Tropicana Field. So Bob Melvin, I'm sure like the rest of us, enjoyed the off day yesterday here in St. Petersburg, but ready to get back to work. A's come in 28-16. They've won 3 in a row. They've won 9 out of 10, and they have the second best record in the major leagues behind the Detroit Tigers, and that to me is still unbelievable.
It is.
Outscoring their opponents 71-18 in the last 10 games.
Well, that team,
I can't get over that.
And I can't either. The team that's second will be at the Coliseum Monday, and of course after their travel experience going to Cleveland from Boston yesterday, playing the game, they did lose in extra innings, but the Tigers, a very hot team also in the Central Division, and they'll be at the Coliseum Monday.
First pitch of the game is popped foul by Coco Crisp. Tigers are 27-13. The A's are 28-16. So those are the two best records, not only in the American League, but in all of baseball. That one's hit hard, and it's fair, and it's going to roll down the right field line into the corner. Coco headed for second, and he's going to lead off this ball game with the double.
Well, they won't stay with the fastballs, and Coco Crisp with his 5th double fouled off the first pitch, and you could say, well, he should be taking pitches. Well, why? As hot as he is and the rest of the team, they swing. Loney, a very good first baseman, that no chance to get to the ball, that was by him quickly, and Myers made a good play because Coco had to have thoughts about a triple to lead off the game. Settled in a second.
So Crisp with the double. So good start. His 5th double of the year. And here's John Jaso. Jaso 280 with 4 homers, 11 RBIs.
You mentioned some of the players, Zobrist, but Ryan Hannigan also catcher they acquired in the offseason, and Jose Molina, one of the 3 Molina brothers, 2 still active, is doing a lot of the catching now until they decide what they're going to do with Hannigan.
That one tapped toward Loney. It's going to get the job done. Crisp goes to third. Jaso's retired. 1 out. So runner at third, one out for the A's, and Donaldson tried to get him home.
And see how the Rays play their infield in the first inning with the third batter coming up and a run at third. But Jaso, the type of hitter who will pull some pitches, but more than anything, he likes to use the whole field. And he does do his job advancing Coco, so the infield will play in, and this is artificial surface, so the ball does go through the infield a little bit quicker than real grass, although this is field turf, and I guess that's stuff that pops up when the ball hits the grass. We'll see. Tires, something.
First pitch to Donaldson is a strike on the inside corner. Donaldson 280, 10 home runs, 35 runs batted in. Donaldson all over the leaderboards in the American League. Donaldson scored 4 runs on Sunday. And he is now second in the American League in runs scored. He's 4th in total bases. He's 5th in RBIs. He's doing everything. 8th in home runs. Slugging percentage, he's up there. Extra base hits.
And Cap, the one thing he talked about as you look at all the positive numbers offensively, but he said, what about my throwing? He said, can you believe my arm? And I said, you got a great arm. He just made a bad throw in Cleveland that ended up in the photographer's wall. But offensively, 10 home runs. He's doing it all and hopes to do it here with a runner at third.
Off speed pitch, and now it's 2-2.
Well, it's out of the strike zone, but he got the leg up, the foot down, and the ball just straight down inside. It's kind of the splitter.
Here's your umpires. Pat Holberg is calling balls and strikes. Brian Gorman is the crew chief. That's Mr. Gorman. 2-2 to Donaldson. Odorizzi delivers a fastball high. Jake Odorizzi, one of the top prospects in all of baseball, and the Rays think he's going to be a terrific pitcher for a long time. Still kind of learning at the big league level, but most baseball people feel the same way as the Rays do.
Well, the hot Brandon Moss in the on-deck circle, and this is always an interesting call, 3-2. And as a hitter, you think about who's in the on-deck circle. Are they going to give me a pitch to hit 3-2? They're going to pitch me carefully and not be concerned if there's a walk. So let's see if it expands the strike zone.
Nope, misses down and away. So Donaldson takes the walk. So first and third, one out. All right, time now for Lowe's never stop improving, and it has to do with Brandon Moss. His last 14 games, he's hitting .389 with 5 home runs and 18 RBIs, and he's 6 for 14 against lefties. So American League Player of the Week this week, but it has stretched out really over a 2-week stretch that Moss has been hot.
Well, the A's will see 2 left-handers following tonight's game. That is assuming Alex Cobb is activated for Thursday's game. Eric Bedard tomorrow night. And the Rays will shift as they're doing right now with Brandon Moss.
First pitch to Moss is hit high in the air, left field. Geyer coming in. Coco's tagging. It's shallow left center, and Coco slipped off third base. I don't know if he was going to go, and then Donaldson has to hustle back to first. I don't know if Coco was going to go or if he was just bluffing, but as he pushed off of third base, he fell.
Yeah.
You think he was going?
I think he was.
I think he was.
Yeah, because watch his left foot. He's trying to get the start.
And he may have left a touch early as well.
I think that was part of it. But, you know, he looked to Mike Gallego. Mike Gallego, of course, knows the outfielder's arm strengths. And he was referring to Gags as far as what about Geyer? What about his arm strength? One out, that's usually a time when the runner is sent, especially with the speed of Coco. And I think probably in hindsight, the fact that he slipped because it looked like initially he was going to take off too soon.
So now the A's will try to get a 2-out hit from Cespedes. Cespedes 262 with 7 home runs and 27 RBIs. It's a rare situation now where the A's don't get a run in these circumstances. They've been so good offensively as of late.
Well, we do know that the bases that they use are hard and they can be slippery, especially early in the game. Might have gotten some moisture on them.
Cespedes good swing, fouled it straight back. Saw some of the family members of Yoenis Cespedes here in St. Petersburg. I'm sure that's wonderful for him.
Well, he drove home Sunday night whenever we arrived, and he and Ariel Prieto went to the Miami area and then back, and as Cespedes said, brought the family back for this 3-game series.
0-2. Fastball is high. Great look here, Ray. Yeah, it didn't look like he slipped or stumbled there. He just was leaning forward quite a bit.
Well, I think the interesting thing, if Gags told him to go, even as the ball was in flight to left field.
1-2 pitch, good fastball there. He threw it right by Cespedes. So the A's, opportunity but do not score. They strand a pair. Bottom of the first coming up. Here in St. Petersburg, looking out over maybe the Gulf of Mexico. Let's look at the lineup for the Rays tonight. Brandon Guyers at left, Desmond Jennings in center, Longoria at third, Myers, big shot right fielder. He's a good-looking young player. He's in right field. Sean Rodriguez, second base, Logan Forsythe the DH, then Loney, Escobar, and Molina down at the bottom.
Joe Pomerantz, his third start since joining the rotation. He had the Mariners, 5 innings, no runs. He had the White Sox, 5 innings, no runs. Picked up wins in both of them, 3-1 on the season. And for him, the pitch count will continue to rise a little bit higher. 68, 82 in the first 2. So approaching 90 probably in this evening's contest, at least max out there. And we'll pitch out of the stretch exclusively.
So here's the right-handed hitting Brandon Guyer. So Guyer getting a start tonight, hitting .209 with a homer and 4 RBIs. He's got 9 hits in 43 at-bats. He lines one to left, but Cespedes is right there, and he makes the catch. So hard hit ball by Guyer. That's out number 1. Let's look at the A's defense. It's Cespedes in left, Crispin center, Reddick in right. Donaldson, Punto. Nick Punto making his 4th start at shortstop this year. And then Sogard and Moss on the right side with Derek Norris doing the catching tonight. So 1 out for Desmond Jennings. Jennings spent a couple days on the bereavement list. And he's back with the team. Hitting .242 with 4 home runs, 10 RBIs.
Well, he has the speed that the Rays want in the lineup. And sad that he had to leave for the bereavement, but I'm sure Joe Maddon's happy to get him back and get him back in the lineup.
Rays are really struggling. They are 19-26. And they are 4-9 in their last 13 games. Starting a 6-game homestand tonight with the A's for 3 and then the Red Sox for 3. They're just not scoring a lot of runs lately. But the good news for them, Ray, is that they're only 5 games out of first place in what is a bunched up AL East, and it's still early yet.
Well, that's the first thing Joe Maddon said, and he is as positive as we have seen Bob Melvin over the years, and he says we're playing horrible baseball, but we're still just 5 out, so that's good news.
Well, the injury bug has really hurt their starters. Of course, Matt Moore, the talented left-hander, is out for the year, Tommy John surgery. Jeremy Hellickson, who had elbow surgery in January, he'll be back, but it's going to be late June, early July.
There he is. Look at his elbow. Yeah. Says it all right there.
That's what you do not want to have on your elbow. Sogard is underneath it, and Jennings is retired for out number 2.
Time now for the Nissan keys to the game. And day off. Slow start for the offense. Well, maybe the first inning, but doesn't mean that it's going to continue for Pomerantz. He might get close to 100 as this is his 3rd start since joining the rotation. As we mentioned, the number of pitches the first 2 starts. But I thought very interesting and very important. He got 2 strikes on fastballs to Jennings. And then a couple of curveballs. Jennings didn't offer at them, but at least Eric Norris calling the curveball to incorporate the pitch in to the selection that he will call throughout the game. And there's a good one for a strike.
To Evan Longoria. 263, 4 home runs, 22 RBIs for Longoria. It looks like the Rays will get Alex Cobb back from injury on Thursday. That is the plan anyways. He would pitch the final game of the series, but Alex Cobb has been out for quite a while, so that's 3 very good young pitchers to take out of your rotation. Sounds like the bullpen has struggled some. I think the bullpen has pitched the most innings in the American League. So it's just been a combination of really everything. It's just not quite as good as the Rays had thought it would be so far. 1-2 to Longoria. Strike 3 called. So a very nice first inning by Drew Pomeranz as he gets Longoria looking. And we are scoreless after 1 from St. Petersburg. About the Rays injury situation, but these are important people. If you just look at the names, I mean, Matt Moore last year, Ray, was 17-4. He's gone for the year. But Hellickson and Cobb will be back. Zobrist will be back. Zobrist is on the disabled list for the first time in his career. And he's extremely valuable. So I think the Rays just trying to get through it, get a couple of their starters back, and maybe go on a little hot streak. And with the way things are in the East right now, there's no reason for them to really panic just yet.
Well, they know what hot streaks are because they've had them in the past, or at least the past 4 or 5 years, where they may have struggled early but come back and win a lot of games in a short amount of time. Here we go with the shift. There's yeah, that's the shortstop Escobar going back to short, and over to second is Longoria.
Reddick to the backstop.
And so they pitch him outside.
I don't know.
Hey, guess about this. How about this? A thumb injury.
Ow.
Yeah, sliding head first, and watch the left thumb. Bam, right there. Look at the grimace on his face. That says it all. There have been a few players that have gone on the disabled list with the head first slide.
You think he knew it was broke?
I think with the look on his face, he knew he was hurting. They need to hire Ricky Henderson. Everybody does, to teach him how to slide head first.
Is that the truth?
I mean, Ricky was the best, and you could see the thumb going straight in. Well, Ricky's hands were always pointing up. The fingers were pointing up as he slid in.
There's the East. Nobody running away with it. Look at the Yankees, just 3 games over 500, and they're in first place.
And the Angels would be in first in that division with a 24-20 record, but they're in the West.
And nobody in the East really playing that well right now. Nobody's on a hot streak.
Molina's out of the strike zone right now. I mean, he's hoping that the umpire gives him the call to see how far he's going to go out and call a strike.
That one is called a strike, and it looked like Reddick knew it. So 1 out here in the second inning.
Well, the one was off the plate. Molina moved a little bit closer in, and this one nailed the outside corner. And when you know, you may be looking for another pitch. Reddick evidently was, but he might have been shocked when he looks at the video to see that the shift was being employed by the Rays, and they continue to pitch him outside.
There's the last 2 starts for Odorizzi. Look at the last one. 1 hit in 6 innings, and the 1 hit came in the 6th inning. So he had a no-hitter going. Oh, 0-1 to Derek Norris. Odorizzi, who is just 24 years old, but he has been involved in 2 huge trades. He was originally a #1 draft pick of the Brewers back in 2008. And he went to the Royals in the Zach Greinke trade. Well, that's a big trade. And then he went from the Royals to the Rays in the James Shields trade. And listen, if you're trading somebody like James Shields or Zach Greinke, this is the kind of kid you want.
That's right.
Young pitcher with star potential. And the Rays also got Will Myers, the Rookie of the Year, who's out in right field in that trade with the Royals.
And that's why Gio Gonzalez, although it upset him a little bit, but he was traded about 3 times. Well, look at the players you traded for. It's the same as this young man. But, you know, you're talking about the injured pitchers. Well, James Shields went to Kansas City because they had an abundance, and he's done a very good job for the Royals. Got his 1,500th strikeout recently. It's only 4,000 behind Nolan Ryan.
He'll get there. Maybe not. 3-2 to Norris. Fastball is high, and it's a walk. So a 1-out base runner here in the 2nd inning.
Game against the Mariners, Kipe, is listed in the notes. 95 pitches for the right-hander, 55 strikes. And the one thing the A's do a very good job, and as we have seen, and it's not a matter of taking so many pitches, but they swing at strikes, and there is a difference. And that's what Josh Donaldson did. But the runner at third, infield in, did not really go out of the strike zone. Same for Derek Norris, taking a 3-2 fastball that was high, that we've seen guys swing at it and miss badly or pop it up.
Pitch to Punto is a little bit low. Odorizzi, not a big guy. He's 6'2", 190 pounds. From Highland, Illinois. Punto playing in place of Lowry tonight. Lowry is feeling better. Possible he could be back in the lineup tomorrow. Remember, he had a bit of a stiff neck.
Yeah, he said he had it prior to the game, actually, on Sunday, and tried to play through it, but even after the game, he could not have full range of motion in the neck. And can't do that when you're a switch hitter. It's going to hurt you one side or the other, especially when you try to turn your neck to try to hit or even to play in the infield. So good that he came out.
Punto flips one to shallow left field. Geyer comes in a couple steps. He's got it. So Punto is retired. 2 outs here in the second, and that'll bring up Eric Sogard.
Second baseman, number 28, Eric Sogard.
Sogard was 1 for 8 in that series in Cleveland. So he's trying to get going. 175 is the average. Last year, Sogard finished the year hitting 266 in 130 games. So we know he's a lot better hitter than what he's doing right now. You just hope that at some point he strings together a couple good weeks.
And, you know, I think in a lot of cases, you look at the raw numbers, he's hitting under 200. But if you put an asterisk beside each ball that was hit hard that was caught by somebody, then, you know, it's much different. And that's what happens in the game. You make good contact. It's one of those hang with them, and that you don't want to hear.
Toward right field, that's going to get down for a hit. Bounces in front of Myers. So Sogard gets a hit. 2 on, 2 out for the A's.
Wasn't hit real hard, but just right, because Myers was playing in his normal position. Ball got in towards the trademark off Eric Sogard and dropped it in front of Myers and Derek Norris. And one thing to remember with the ball bounce on the outfield turf, it's true. Same on the infield. If it starts on the turf, it's kind of a true hop. We see it more so in Toronto with the hardness of that artificial surface, which is a retractable roof.
So another opportunity for the A's. They stranded 2 in the first. This pitch to Coco is fouled at home plate. Coco doubled leading off the ball game. He hit it down the right field line. The ball between Loney and the foul line. Looks like Loney actually maybe a little bit closer to the foul line this at bat. He was playing off the line in the first.
And with him moving a little closer to the line, Rodriguez, the second baseman, also has moved over a little bit more, figuring Coco might be pulling the ball in that direction.
1-1 the count. Geyer playing shallow in left field. And Coco drives into right center. Myers on the move. He's not going to get it. And that's going to score 1. Here comes Sogard, and he's going to score. Coco comes through big time with a 2-out, 2-run double.
Well, the 1-out walk, good at bat by Derek Norris, and of course Sogard with a 2-out base hit. And how about a hanging curveball? Coco does not stride, so for a curveball thrown to him, he stays back as well as anybody and generates a lot of power. Look where the right fielder's playing. And the good news here, once the ball hit hard, it stayed in the park. So the A's were able to capitalize with 2 outs and score 2 runs instead of the ball going into the seats for a ground rule double.
There's Jaso, who checks his swing. Jaso bounced out in the first inning. Jaso spent a fair amount of time here in St. Petersburg playing for the Rays. He was originally a Rays draft pick, 12th round back in 2003 was John Jaso.
Joe Madden thinks the world of him as a hitter, and you know the fact that he puts the ball in play usually finds a way.
Jaso spent 3 years in the big leagues with the Rays, and then of course 1 year in Seattle, and now this is his second year with the A's.
And Joe Madden and Jaso were talking, and he said, well, we're talking books. So we're talking about reading material.
And that's going to be a base hit headed for left center. Coco's going to come around to score. Jaso with a big turn. And it's another 2-out hit, and the A's lead 3-0.
Third baseman, Josh Donaldson.
Lives and hit hard, and go back to Sogard's base hit to right field. Not hit hard, placed perfectly, as this one was off the bat of Jaso in the left center. So he stays back, drives in a run, hits the ball to the opposite field.
So 3 hits and a walk in this inning, and the A's have scored 3 times, and they're at it again. This one bounced toward the second baseman, Rodriguez. He tags Jaso, side, retired. So the A's 3 runs here in the top of the second, so they lead 3-0.
Sports service is now available. Join the millions of subscribers. Watch every out-of-market game live in True HD on over 400 devices. You can visit athletics.com for details.
The Rays, don't mess with those guys. They're out in right center field. Not far from Coco Crisp, who had a big hit top of this inning.
Correct me if I'm wrong. A couple years ago, weren't the Diamondbacks hosting the Dodgers when the Dodgers clinched? They all jumped in the pool?
In Arizona, yes.
I bet they wouldn't do that here.
No, that's a good call. That's a very good call.
I was thinking about that. Why don't they pick their places, huh?
Yeah.
No, I think
the Diamondbacks felt the same way. Get out of our pool.
That's right.
Second inning, Pomeranz has a 3-run lead as he faces Will Myers. And he pours in a strike. Pomeranz 3 up, 3 down in the first inning, facing Will Myers. Myers was the guy that the Rays demanded from the Royals in the James Shields trade. It was, you can have Shields, but you got to give us Myers, who at that point was considered by some to be the top prospect in all of baseball. And on an 0-2 pitch, a fastball, swing and a miss. He struck him out, and that's 2 strikeouts for Pomeranz.
A new player. We talked about Brandon Moss, the American League Player of the Week. How about Jeff Francis, played off waivers from the Reds? 10 seasons in Major Leagues, 33 years young. Goes the bullpen. He's tall, too.
He's a big guy.
6'5". And, of course, he and Drew Pomeranz were teammates. Pomeranz talking about him on the way out, and then Francis said, I can't wait to talk to Drew. So, about pitching in Colorado, of course, which both of them did. And now both pitching for the Athletics. Joe Savory was optioned after the series in Cleveland.
Sean Rodriguez hitting in the 5th spot. Sounds like things will do Francis kind of maybe what they did with Drew Pomeranz. Just do the best you can to stretch him out, and you never know when you need an extra starter. So A's 3 lefties down in that bullpen with Francis. 1-2 now to Rodriguez with Logan Forsythe in the on-deck circle. Almost hit Rodriguez.
He's always concerned about a pitcher when he knows he's on a pinch limit. There's pitches figure about 100 pitches. They start to be concerned about the number. But for Pomeranz, just making his 3rd start, gradually building up to that 100 pitch mark. But he knows he's not holding anything back. He did it against the Mariners. Same thing against the White Sox. Just go out and pitch. And he's so happy to be in the rotation. And Bob Melvin giving that opportunity. And as Pomeranz said when he asked Darren Bush, bullpen coach, about pitching exclusively out of stretch, Bush said, do it. Don't even think about anything else if you feel comfortable, and that's what he's done even now in the rotation.
Fouled straight back. Count remains 2-2. Starters in the last 10 games have an ERA of 1.54.
And there's your reason for your run differential, Cut.
71-18. Yeah. Now 74-18.
Yeah, so you put a 1.54 ERA and you put the offense, and you're going to have the differential.
Now full count to Rodriguez. Sonny Gray's going to pitch on Thursday.
So he is intent on watching the Rays hitters and watching this game tonight and tomorrow night before he makes the start Thursday.
3-2 pitch, hit high and foul again.
I think we just saw with Rodriguez what we have talked about with the A's hitters and what we see sometimes with other hitters. That was a questionable pitch. Maybe called a strike, probably not. But Rodriguez geared up, loaded up early, and knew he was going to get a 3-2 fastball. He did, and maybe went out of the strike zone to make contact.
Again. Yep. That was definitely a ball.
Well, the old saying, and it's been used for a long time, a walk is good as a hit. And there's an example of ball 5 in back-to-back pitches. So Pomeranz getting another opportunity to get him out. Forced him to throw a lot of pitches in this at bat, but could also had him at first base.
This one's popped up to shallow right field. Reddick comes in, and he's got it, and that's out number 2. And that's the difference right there. And listen, we see every A's game. And we saw it last year. And I think kind of started to see it in 2012 where over the course of a game, to me, it's really simple. The A's have better at-bats than the opposition.
Right.
Almost every night.
Well, you look at Donaldson tonight in the first inning. Infield in, and he's driven a lot of runs. But he gets the point, 3-2. Pitches out of the strike zone, takes the walk. And that is a difference. He's willing to take the walk and let the next guy do it. In the case of Rodriguez, he should be at first base. He's back in the dugout instead of having an at bat which didn't count as an at bat. He's 0 for 1.
Logan Forsythe is the hitter. Forsythe came over from the Padres the offseason. He's DHing tonight. Lots of versatility for Forsythe. And now 3-0. So Pomeranz has retired the first 5 he has faced in this game. And there's his strike.
First inning, 11 pitches went right after the hitters, and strikeout on 3 pitches to Myers, and then 10 pitches the next at bat to Rodriguez.
And there's a line drive, but Reddick is right there, and he grabs it side, retired. Forsythe hit it hard. He lines out 6 up, 6 down so far for Drew Pomeranz. Petersburg. And he's got 2 out RBI hits from Crisp and Jaso in the second inning. So here in the third, it'll be Moss, Cespedes, and Reddick to face Jake Odorizzi. Big shift is on. Longoria actually maybe sort of kind of thinking about taking away the bunt, but now he backs off and heads back to a more conventional shortstop spot.
And for the next strike, he goes over to second base with Escobar coming back. So it's all planned out. It's almost robotic in a sense of depending on the count. But look at the second baseman, Rodriguez. You talk about a shift. Of course, the Indians tried that, and Brandon Moss hit one by Nick Swisher, by, I think Avila's playing second that night, and to the wall for a double. There they go.
Yeah. So I mean, I get it, and it probably works, but if you're an infielder, you cannot be thrilled about going back and forth. Swing and a miss. So Moss strikes out. So that's out number 1 here in the third. Time for the Ford right choice. This was Sunday in Cleveland. Yoenis Cespedes, he got an RBI on that play. He had a career high 5 RBIs, a couple of doubles. So Yoenis Cespedes. All the talk about Brandon Moss, well deserved, but Cespedes has been a hot hitter as well. He had a big series in Cleveland.
I mean, look at Donaldson, Moss, and Cespedes, 3, 4, and 5 in the lineup. 35, 39, 27 runs batted in on this, the 20th of May. And not to mention everybody else, bottom part of the batting order in tonight's game, sets the table for Coco.
A's have now scored 238 runs. That is the most in the American League. They're 4th in home runs. They're 1st in walks, 1st in on-base percentage, and 3rd in slugging. So all this offense lately is moving them up the league ranks, obviously. And of course, it's becoming the really popular run differential, which now sits at a plus 98. Well, another ridiculous number.
Well, I think another ridiculous number on top of that. Remember the John Jaso walk-off hit on the 10th at the Coliseum against the Nationals? They've played 8 games, not counting tonight. And in the 8 games starting with that game, they've had 24 runs scored with 2 outs. So, I mean, it's just, and tonight you had 3 more. And so that, and we were just in Cleveland where they said they couldn't get a hit with the runner in scoring position. And the A's are done with 2 outs. Or at least they have done it in the last 8 to 9 games. And continue tonight.
They don't strike out a lot. Most walks in the majors. It has been extremely impressive. Count stays 1-2 to Cespedes.
And I think, you know, we talk about certain players like Brandon Moss. He can carry a club. Jonas Cespedes, he can carry a club for a month. But whenever a club as a whole starts playing the way the A's have, you have to enjoy the ride, because if you can continue that, it's going to be a phenomenal season. I mean, look at the '84 Tigers started the season 35-5, wide away to win the World Series. But you're going to have some downtime, and you just have to take advantage of the good times, and the A's are doing that. Cespedes back-to-back strikeouts, went up the ladder a little bit with a fastball, slight tail on it to the outside. Does throw a little bit of a cutter. That was kind of a 4-seam elevated.
So Cespedes with a couple of strikeouts tonight. And here's Reddick. Odorizzi trying to get his first 3 up, 3 down inning. First pitch to Reddick is a high strike. Reddick struck out looking in the second. And a quick 0-2. Odorizzi has been working on a changeup, and what I understand, it's the changeup that Alex Cobb showed him, and we know Cobb's got a great changeup.
It's kind of a split finger changeup that he throws, which the A's will see Thursday probably.
Fastball, that's a pretty good pitch. So Odorizzi strikes out the side in the top of the 3rd. He's got 5 strikeouts in the game. Bottom of the 3rd coming up, 3-0 A's. Area's best sports talk show combined with America's #1 sports website. Tonight at 9:30 on Comcast Sportsnet Bay Area, it's Yahoo Sports Talk Live, and the guest will be the new Warriors head coach, Steve Kerr. He's going to be in studio, and you do not want to miss that. So congratulations and good luck to Steve Kerr, the new head coach of the Golden State Warriors. So that's worth checking out. Yahoo Sports Talk Live. So Steve Kerr,
TV broadcaster to head coach.
For all that.
Yeah.
Great, where his
great player.
Yeah, and his daughter goes to Cal, and she's a volleyball player. So not a bad reason to come to the Bay Area.
You know, Bob Melvin's got to be happy. There's another Cal, somebody else going to Cal.
So here in St. Petersburg, it's the A's 3, the Rays nothing. Rays come to bat here in the bottom of the third. Much the same, 2-out hits for the A's and 2 shutout innings from Drew Pomeranz so far as he faces James Loney.
What a great find for the Rays. James Loney, of course, a big Dodger, and was in the big trade to the Red Sox, came to Tampa Bay and signed a multi-year contract. And while he may not hit a lot of home runs, which a first baseman is, that's kind of a position for home runs, he will drive in a lot of runs other ways, like hits and hitting over 300.
Got a nice contract, 3-year deal. He was a free agent, but he decided to stay with the Rays.
And I think when a player has success, and in his case moving to a couple of different clubs, you're happy, you stay. Great first baseman, Gold Glove potential,
and a base hit to right center field. It was probably a ball. It looked like he was up and in, but Loney was able to get the meat of the bat on it, and he's got himself a base hit.
Well, it was up. Looked like he tried to throw a little bit of a cut fastball towards the outside part of the plate and down, but it was up and in. He just brought the hands in, and you're right, pitch out of the strike zone. But in his case, a magic 1.
So it looks like James Loney has found a home.
Yeah.
Remember all those years with the Dodgers where he was having decent years, but he was not hitting home runs.
Yeah.
And it always seemed like that was the thing. Well, he's not hitting home runs, and here with the Rays, it doesn't sound like they're that worried about that because he's hitting 300.
And I go back to John Olerud, who played many years with the Blue Jays, and they said the same thing. And all he did was hit doubles, left center, right center, and drive in 100 runs. You're always going to get more hits with singles, doubles, and maybe some triples than you do over the course of a season hitting home runs.
2-0 to Yunel Escobar. 255 for Escobar with 3 home runs. Jose Molina will be next. 3-0. So Pomeranz behind in the count. Escobar hitting in the 8th spot in the Rays lineup. And that one is right down the middle, 3-1. A's playing pretty much straight away.
Drew Pomeranz trying to get him to roll over on one of his sinking fastballs, the natural tail from a left-hander, and try to induce him into hitting a ground ball for a double play. He has some pop, good power, especially for a shortstop hitting 8th.
And he lays off that pitch, and the Rays have something going against Pomeranz here in the 3rd.
Actually has too much movement on his fastball and his sinker, and Derek Norris talking to him. It might be something where Derek Norris has to adjust his positioning behind the plate to allow for the movement. That's why the catcher, if he sits on the corner and the ball keeps tailing away out of the strike zone, then that's the adjustment. Just hope that hope the movement continues.
A lot of fastballs from Drew Pomeranz. So here's Jose Molina. Molina is really struggling. He's hitting just 115. He's got 52 at bats and just 6 hits. He does not have an RBI. So you wonder, would he bunt him here?
I would just thinking that same thing. Although down 3 runs, you wouldn't think it. But considering those numbers and the fact that he hits a lot of ground balls, and he doesn't run well, that's a bad combination with regard to hitting into double plays. If you hit the ball on the ground, you don't run well. Hayes would like to see him do something like that, but I agree with you. He may be thinking bunting.
Donaldson playing back now. He comes in a little bit, and the first pitch is a strike. So Molina's quickly behind in the count. He's not completely sold on the call. Looks down to the third base coach, Tom Foley. Loney at second, Escobar at first, nobody out. It's like that fastball of Pomeranz. Got a lot of movement away to right-handed hitters.
And again, you would like to see the right-handers roll over, hit it to the left side, but the concern is, will they hit it to right field, staying on it and swing a little bit late? Or will Derek Norris call fastballs inside and take the movement towards the plate or the corner?
Molina had a good swing there. He got a fastball at 90 miles an hour. Now he's behind in the count 1-2.
Well, the percentage of fastballs, and I would think that the Rays hitters and the management know exactly what Pomeranz does. He does throw the knuckle curveball, which he said he developed when he was 11 years young. And that's the only curveball he's ever thrown. There it is.
Sliced foul down the right field line. So good job of spoiling that pitch by Molina. Let's take a look at the curve.
And watch the knuckle. You can see the center field camera, see the rotation. And probably in that particular case, he wanted to bounce it or at least throw it a lot lower than he did. When he throws it hard, he gets some hitters that swing over the curveball.
And this one's popped up behind first. Reddick coming in, and Reddick in fair territory. He grabs it, and that's the first out. So Molina is retired, and now to the top of the order in Brandon Guyer. Say one thing about Tropicana Field, the sound system works pretty good, Ray.
I don't think we've ever been here when it has not worked.
What? I didn't hear you. What?
That's what I mean. It works.
Sound system works extremely well.
And you know, with the roof, it kind of holds it in. There's no place for it to escape, so you'd think they would pot it down a little bit. Huh?
You would think.
It's a beautiful place, though. Especially in the middle of the summer, and it's pouring down rain, and it's hot and humid.
And we're happy we're in here. Here's Brandon Guyer. First pitch. Just missed. Guyer came over from the Cubs in the Matt Garza trade back in January of 2011. He was originally in the Cubs organization. Hit hard right field, and that's a base hit. And Loney is going to be held. So Reddick makes a nice throw back in, but at no point was Loney going to try to score. So Guyer shoots one through the right side, and now the bases are loaded. And now you're going to get into the Rays' best hitters.
And excellent hitting. There's the fastball outside, and that's the concern. See where the right side of the infield is playing him. Moss is trying to cheat over as much as possible, with Sogard shading him closer to up the middle. So you might see second time through the batting order. Loney just is not blessed with a lot of speed, so Tom Foley had to hold him up. Well, the A's with another ground ball, maybe with Jennings, if it's hit hard, could double him up, although with his speed, a little tough.
First pitch to Jennings is a bit low. Jennings is really struggling right now. For the year, just 176 with runners in scoring position, and overall he's got just 4 hits in his last 40 at bats. Popped out to second in the first inning, and now it's 2-0. Pomeranz does not have any place to put Jennings.
Well, he missed with the first pitch curveball, and I'd say his curve is not working where it had worked for him the 2 previous starts.
Missed again, 3-0, and that was not close. Looks like he's almost guiding it a little bit.
Well, the real danger is that assuming he can throw a strike 3-0, he's going to have to throw another fastball 3-1. And he's got to throw the 3-0 first and foremost.
And that one is in for a strike. So Loney at third, Escobar at second, Geyer at first.
Throws him anything but a fastball, he might get a big swing and miss, but I would say he's going to feature the number 1 because the curveball is not a pitch that he's throwing consistently for strikes.
And that one, strike 2 on the outside corner, and Pomeranz may have got a break there.
But as a hitter, you know you're in the driver's seat. This is a perfect time, and similar pitch that Geyer hit to right field, but it looked like Jennings was thinking walk.
So now 3-2. Jennings got a fastball on the inside corner.
Pat, if you're having trouble throwing the fastball outside, but if he's made 2 good fastball pitches to the corner, force him to extend a little bit by pitching inside. He got the ball in, and Jennings tied him up a little bit after everything being outside.
Another 3-2. Here it is. And it's bounced towards short. Out at second. Throw back to first. In time. And the A's get out of it, and the Rays do not score. Joe Madden jumps out of the dugout on a very close play at first, so we may be sticking around here.
Well, the players are staying on the field because they figure it's going to be a challenge. Dave Martinez, the bench coach, getting word. And
this is a huge play. This
absolutely.
Is a run.
Bang, bang. So if it's inconclusive, the A's will get back in the dugout. And looking in, grounds crew doing their work. That's inconclusive. That's a bang, bang play. Now they're going to challenge it.
I think if you're the Rays, you got to challenge.
Absolutely. Yeah, the way they're going, absolutely. I agree.
So we'll see what the call is. We got a challenge. Now remember, the bases were loaded with 1 out, so this either ends the inning, or if it's changed, well, if it's overturned, a run is in, and the Rays are still batting.
That's right.
So this is a huge call.
And Sogard at second base, it wasn't a smooth transfer, and maybe that slowed it down a little bit, but the A's wisely staying on the field, and it's not going to take a long time, it seems like. Well, maybe so.
They're going to put the runners in the proper spots as well, which should not be difficult.
Well, they're showing on diamond vision, but it doesn't matter with regard to these umpires looking, because that's Tim Wilkie saying, Bill Wilkie saying first and third.
Yeah,
so that's probably what they're doing. It looks like they're going to overturn it. And if they overturn it, it's deciding where they're going to put the base runners. called him out.
Wow. Okay.
Well, Milwaukee confused me. He fooled me.
So the Rays do not score. How about that?
Wow.
So it's 3-0 A's after 3.
The 0 in the Rays column on the runs because of this play. It was challenged, a bang-bang play at first, but, you think maybe it's safe. Umpires called as Brian Gorman. They called him out at first base, and the reaction, Joe Madden smiling because he probably got it conclusive that he was safe. And on the other side, Bob Melvin. I think Craig Gentry said it all right there, and maybe they were both saying it was going to be first and third with a run in, but it's not. And the A's retain their 3-0 lead and maybe catch a break.
You think?
Well, I think what happens, Guy, and we've seen it unfortunately too much, and that is the play on the field, the call, whatever the call is, unless it's really conclusive. But Chu in Oakland was one of those similar to this. He was called safe originally, then out, and ended up hurting himself. But it's just seems like that the word conclusive or inconclusive has been abandoned. In some have been overturned, but in this particular case for the Rays, it was not.
So the A's keep the Rays off the board, and that is a huge call. Huge call in this game. Norris Punto Sogard here in the top of the 4th inning.
With the speed, that's the key. And watch Sogard as he caught the ball. And, of course, the runner on it very quickly. And it was bang, bang. And fortunately for the A's and the way they're going, it went in their direction with a double play with a very, very fast runner.
Norris shoots one into the crowd. So 2-2 the count to Norris, who walked and scored in the 2nd inning.
That was a late swing.
You think?
That was a huge protecting swing. It's like, I'm looking for something else. I better take my emergency swing, and he did. And hope somebody didn't get hit over the dugout.
Setting up outside, and it's popped foul back again. So Norris, the batting average sitting at .354. Hit hard but foul. Odorizzi struck out the side in the 3rd inning, so he's trying to settle in after a tough 2nd inning. Another foul ball by Norris. So a good battle here between Odorizzi and Norris.
One of the hardest things for pitcher, although they would never admit it, that a team is having a tough time scoring runs. And you sit in the dugout, you think you're going to get some offense, bases loaded, you got a speedy man at the plate, then go back on the mound, it's still a 0. A little demoralizing, but you have to just keep pitching and hope you can make the pitches to keep it where it is.
Molina cannot quite get to it.
They might not have seen that.
Well, I'm not quite sure why the crowd would be booing Jose Molina. Really?
First of all, you have to find it. No chance for Longoria, and a late move by Molina goes into the slide trying to make the play, but you look up into the roof and it's hard to take a ball that's been rubbed up with mud.
It's the same colors through.
Exactly the same as that roof, and had it at the Metrodome in night games when it wasn't translucent, but same here, and it's dark outside. It's dark roof and a dark baseball.
So another 2-2, and again hit down the right field line and foul.
6 foul balls with 2 strikes, and that first one to protect, and all of a sudden he's in double figures in pitches seen. It's pretty good.
Tropicana. Another foul ball. 7 foul balls now with 2 strikes for Derek. A little frustrating for the pitcher.
Yeah, because that's 11 pitches in this at bat, and that is frustrating. And all pitchers know that they are close to the 100-pitch mark and are going to be considered time to get out, and having this kind of at bat doesn't help. Pomerantz already had a 10-pitch at bat against him.
And a fastball inside to Norris, so now full count.
There it is, 12 pitches so far, and 13th coming up.
So Odorizzi kicks, and the 3-2 pitch, another foul ball.
Brian Anderson works with Dwayne Statson on the home TV side here. Said that they've done a study, and I know when we were in Cleveland, Tom Hamilton, a great broadcaster for the Indians, said, wait till you go down to Tropicana Field. They play slow games. The Rays play. And Brian, they did a study on how long it takes between pitches for certain hitters and certain pitchers. Said one was about 42 seconds. That's a long night.
Yep.
When you're waiting around that long for each batter.
Let's not forget, hitters are at fault in this whole thing as well.
But I think Molina's trying to change signs and trying to do something differently, and now Norris is going to he's going to stay in.
And a fastball just a touch high. What an at bat by Norris, and he ends up walking. So the 1974 A's team that won 3 straight World Championships will be celebrated on Friday, May 30th and Saturday, May 31st. Rollie Fingers, Reggie Jackson, Sal Bando, Vida Blue, Gene Tennis, and our own Ray Fosse will be honored. There will be autograph session on Friday and a meet and greet on Saturday, with proceeds all benefiting the Jim Catfish Hunter ALS Foundation. For information and tickets, visit athletics.com/1974. Well, that'll be next weekend. Rays will be in Toronto this weekend.
Well, A's fans get a chance to celebrate a couple of different anniversaries. The 25th of the '89 World Series, and of course the 40th of the '74. Rays still trying to win their first. Game close.
Pitch to Nick Punto is outside. The Rays last year went 92-71. And they played in the wild card tiebreak. Remember, they beat the Rangers in Texas to grab the second wild card. And then they went to the Indians and beat the Indians in Cleveland in the wild card game. But then lost the division series to the Red Sox in 4 games. It was an exciting finish for the Rays. They were bopping all around the country winning games and got them to the division series.
Well, the Tigers players talked about their trip from Boston to Cleveland that took them a whole day. That I don't even want to say what some of the players were saying about how they had to get back to the hotel at 3 and get up and take a 1 o'clock flight same day of the game and get in and
without their luggage.
Oh gosh, yeah, and the way they were dressed and
right there to Punto, and the count is now 1-2. So it's been a good run for the Rays, but as Ray said, they just have not been able to win at all. 2008 is when they lost to the Phillies in the World Series.
That 11 series, when we were in Seattle watching that series, and
runner goes, and the pitch is fouled back. So there's the official note. Average time of game 3 hours and 16 minutes for the Rays.
50 seconds.
Can't forget that 50 seconds. The major league average is 3 hours and 1 minute and 56 seconds. So they're 15 minutes longer than the average time of game.
So the A's, just 6 games will play an extra hour and a half. 3 here and 3 in Oakland, each 15 minutes longer than. And of course in Oakland, the A's hope they don't have to hit in the bottom of the 9th inning. Maybe that will help out, shorten the game a little bit.
Punto fouls it right towards Sogard in the on-deck circle.
Well, and Jose Molina wearing the hockey style mask, and watch the foul ball right off the mask, and this is never good. Bang, and you see him duck a little bit and sets him back. Listen. Jose Yadier active. Benji coaching for the Rangers first base.
Another foul ball by Nick Punto. Now the A's are doing a number on Odorizzi in this inning. Punto just fouling balls back. It was a 12 pitch at bat for Norris.
That's 11 foul balls with 2 strikes just between Norris and now with Punto. Pitchers want to start rolling the ball up just to try to get contact.
Punto hit a fly ball in the left field. That was in the 2nd inning. We're in the 4th. And now 2-2. So a changeup from Odorizzi. Inside, and now full count. So Odorizzi, I think that Norris at bat has to have affected him a little bit.
But he knows that on the board he sees 78, which is the magical number. He's pitching in the 4th inning, and that's the number of pitches he's thrown. And after his club had bases loaded and 1 out and didn't score, on a challenge play at first base and back out, trailing 3-0.
So a payoff pitch, and Punto rips one down the right field line, and it is just foul. Well, Punto held on to the bat, gave it a little body language, trying to keep it fair, but it just went foul.
Had the home run distance, and when you see a hitter carry the bat, he knows. He knows that he is swung. He knows it's hooking and no chance for it to be a fair ball. And there's the hook to the right of the foul pole, and that's somebody named Powell getting out of the way of it.
Not a great effort by Powell.
Landon, a great catcher, caught the perfect game for Dallas Braden, would have been standing right there and blocking it probably, as all good catchers do.
Runner goes, swing and a miss. Molina double clutch throws, not in time. So it'll be a strikeout, stolen base, and a close play at second, but a little double clutch by the catcher Molina, and that helped Norris get in.
Molina's a very quick release, and Derek Norris looking back to see if there's contact, and Jose came up, but there is a transfer and still a good throw. Ooh. But you got him.
Joe Mann's walking out.
And he lost his challenge. So he's just going to question.
Watch. I think he's out.
I think you're right.
See that the right leg, the front leg was up.
Yeah.
Watch the right leg go up over the bag. Tag. Wow.
Now he had to have challenged the one at first base, right?
So he's maybe just trying to talk him into. I don't know.
But he's looking in the dugout. Joe seems to be looking in the dugout for Dave Martinez, and the challenge was he lost the challenge in the previous inning. It's an interesting.
Maybe he's just arguing.
Yeah.
I don't know.
But it looked like Dave Martinez grabbed the phone and put it back down and said, "We don't have a challenge."
I know.
Maybe
he was just arguing.
Maybe Jim Wolf said, "Joe, don't be looking in the dugout. You don't have a challenge because you lost it." So I don't know.
The A's are smiling, and they should be.
Yeah, well, they're 2 for 2.
Sogard fouls it back. I think that what we've seen in this game, I think, is maybe one of the complaints about the replay, and I think it's worked fine, but the fact that maybe the challenges, and you lose your challenge, well, then there's nothing you can do with a bad call later on in the game.
And Bruce Bochy have one earlier that play at the plate.
Yeah. But the point is like the object is to, if there's a missed call, to get it right.
Yeah,
well,
exactly.
Just because you don't have a challenge, then that theory is just gone.
No, yeah, that's true. That's true. But what it does enable the umpire to do is to make the call and know that if there's no challenge, doesn't matter whether it's right or wrong, because
doesn't matter.
Yeah, I mean, we could show it and see that maybe Norris was, but once the umpire made the call, he's not going to change his call on a play, and if it's reviewed or challenged,
not
then
till the 7th inning, right?
Exactly.
I mean, then they could maybe do it on their own if they wanted to. But that's one of the things that's, I mean, in the middle of the controversy too. Why is innings 7, 8, and 9 more important than innings 4, 5, and 6, or innings 1, 2, and 3?
Unless you want to ask Ron Gardenhire with Gio Gonzalez game, which the A's came back down by about 10.
Another foul ball. This one right below us.
And the last play of the game on a ball that bounced back is clearly safe. And remember that time, Gardy said, if I'd had a red flag, I would have thrown it in. Challenge it. Meanwhile, 28 pitches thrown by this right-hander just to these 3 batters, and he has an out in a 3-2 count on Sogard.
And a walk. So that's walk number 4.
Jim Hickey's going to talk to him. And Cobb, I think we're seeing a young man who's very frustrated.
Yeah.
And to the point, it's almost like he's just making pitches, but not the same effort that he made them the first couple of innings. And Jim Hickey was initially talking to Jose Molina, his catcher. Hickey's done a very good job for Joe Madden as his pitching coach, and especially working with a staff of pitchers, and especially a lot of young pitchers who have come up and performed to keep the franchise really in a positive light and having success towards the end in the postseason.
So Cesar Ramos, the left-hander who has made a handful of starts this year, but just put back in the bullpen. So if nothing else, he's stretched out.
But he was pulled after one inning in third in Anaheim in his last start, which was his last start.
86 pitches for Odorizzi, 1 out, and now he's got to face the top of the order in Coco Crisp. Well, the bottom of the order has done their job. And Coco takes a strike.
And this half inning is reminiscent of the White Sox game in which Jesse Chavez pitched in the bottom of the 8th. Took forever with all the walks and all the pitches, and Chavez tried to complete the game, gave up the home run to Abreu in the 9th, and had to come out, and he's ended up winning a 1-run game.
Coco's had a big night, a couple of doubles. His double in the 2nd inning scored 2, and then he later scored in that inning. So Coco now 6 doubles on the year to go along with a triple and 3 home runs. Fouls that one straight back. It's amazing. Odorizzi struck out the side in the 3rd inning, and he did it. All 3 strikeouts were swinging. The Norris at bat is just wore him down. Strike 3 call. Coco, I think he knew it, and that's 7 strikeouts for Odorizzi, trying to get out of this inning.
Well, they fooled Coco. Started it inside. He tried to back off and realized strike 3 as the ball came back. Starts to walk to the dugout. Odorizzi threw about the same number of pitches in striking out 3 last inning than he did to Derek Norris in this one batter.
So see if Jaso can get a 2-out hit. He did it in the 2nd inning, and the 2-out hit has been a huge part of the A's offensive success lately. You almost come to expect it. Jaso 1 for 2 tonight. And an off-speed pitch that drops in for a strike.
Excellent changeup, and Jose Molina will call the changeups, and a lot of times if the pitcher goes with him, and that's why Odorizzi was stepping off, because maybe trying to get on the same page with his veteran catcher.
Fastball up and away. So the pitch count now at 93.
Six innings, 95 pitches against the Mariners. His last start.
Goes back to the changeup. It's a foul ball. So a couple of walks, a couple of strikeouts in this inning. Norris and Sogard the runners. It's a fastball high. So full count. That'll help the A's. The runners will take off.
4 of the 5 batters this inning. 3-2 count. You've got to be happy that Coco took strike 3 on a 1-2 pitch.
Three-two to Jaso. Swing and a miss. So Odorizzi has to work extremely hard. He ends up walking 2 and striking out 3, and the A's do not score. History of the Rays, not a good start. Finished in last place 7 of their first 8 seasons, but then Joe Maddon came along, and in 2008 it all started to turn around. They went to the World Series, and since 2008, 6 straight winning seasons. And that's the man that has a lot to do with the success as of late, the manager, Joe Maddon.
Well, he's a very positive manager, and there is a success story.
So Maddon, before he came to the Rays, he was the interim manager with the Angels in 1999. He managed 29 games, but outside of that, only minor league managerial experience. But he was with the Rays for a long time.
Well, I think the biggest thing about Joe Maddon, we've seen it with Bob Melvin. They're really 2 managers really kind of similar in their approach, and that is to be positive with the players that you're given. And whether they're young, veterans, whatever, you're positive, let them and make them believe in themselves. And once that happens, good things can happen.
Here's Longoria. First pitch is tapped toward Donaldson. Just in time to get Longoria. 1 pitch, 1 out. American League ERA leaders since 2010.
Wow.
A's first, Rays second. I'm not surprised by that either. And the Rays always seem to come up with young pitchers. And they're continuing to do that. Chris Archer, a young right-hander who we will not see in this series.
I think, as you pointed out, the number of pitchers on the disabled list, that's a pretty good staff of DL pitchers. One to come back probably on Thursday. There's more in Hellickson. And of course, Cobb, who will be coming back. But that's good staff.
You have everybody healthy. Yeah, that's Price.
There's Alex Cobb, who will be on the mound Thursday, and the A's know he's good. Just a question on Thursday, coming back from the oblique strain, something that I don't even remember even happened. But
it was early in the year.
Yeah, but I mean, there's so many new terms for injuries.
Yeah, well, that's true.
He's got a sore shoulder. No, it's Tommy John elbow or rotator cuff surgery or something going on.
Well, it's one of the big stories in baseball here in 2014, unfortunately for everybody, and that includes the A's, who lost 2 good starters.
I think they announced last night that the latest one made it 20 before the end of May, which has never happened before. 20 Tommy Johns.
Close pitch. Myers watches it, and it's a 1-out walk. So that's the second walk for Pomeranz. He's got 2 strikeouts. He's thrown 57 pitches.
And he's got to be a little disappointed because he got a 1 pitch out with Longoria, ground ball to third. First pitch strike to Myers, and then 4 consecutive pitches out of the strike zone.
So here is Sean Rodriguez. Rodriguez hit a fly ball to right field in the second inning. Myers has a decent lead at first. The Rangers and the Mariners are underway. It's a 1-1 game in the top of the third. That's the first of what is just a 2-game series on in Arlington. It's Iwakuma and Lewis, the pitching matchup. Mariners have lost 4 out of 5. The Rangers have lost 6 out of 8. So somebody's trying to turn it around.
I think the big series, we just left Cleveland, and big series for the Indians against the first place Tigers. And after the travel excursion made by the Tigers to get to Cleveland, they lost an extra inning game and trailing tonight. The Tigers are.
Yeah, it's now 5-2. The Indians lead in the 5th.
Remember that hot hitter named Brantley? How about the walk-off last night? Home run to win it.
He was one of the few guys who had decent swings against the A's.
And a hitter that took a lot of time in between pitches, but the way he hit, I guess that was his plan, and it worked out. Did it again last night before the hitting the walk-off. Yeah. This is a bad feeling. Derek Norris lost it. He had no idea. He rolled under the umpire, and he's looking around and saying, "Oh, there it is." And he got rid of the mask, which is a good idea.
2-1 pitch is skied to center. Plenty of room for Coco. And he's got it, and that's out number 2. So Rodriguez flies to center field. And here's Logan Forsythe. The Astros and the Angels will get underway in a little bit. That'll be game 2 of a 3-game series.
How about Dallas Keuchel? Within 1 out of pitching back-to-back shutouts, and ended up having to come out of the game. But the Angels, a tough time against the Astros last year, playing much better baseball are the Angels. Just 4 games behind the Athletics with a 4 over 500. Boy, they started doing comparisons of the last couple of years this same time for the Angels, and Mike Scioscia and his players playing a lot better. Record shows it, and not a surprise team in the American League West, but a good team that's putting it all together.
Feldman will pitch for the Astros in that game. Skaggs for the Angels. And the tentative plan is to get Josh Hamilton back on Monday. He's going to go out on a rehab assignment, play through the weekend in the minor leagues, and then hopefully for the Angels, they're thinking maybe Monday. So that would be a big boost for them.
And that means he would be at the Coliseum a week from this coming weekend, because the A's will host the Angels' final, the 4-game series against the Tigers. There's Ramos again getting loose, and I guess indicating that he may be coming in to start the 5th inning. 95 pitches for the right-hander. Odorizzi.
Pop-up foul. Pomeranz get in on the hands. So 1-2 to Logan Forsythe with 2 outs here in the bottom of the 4th. Myers with a pretty good lead at first, not going anywhere. So 2-2. You break down balls and strikes. Total of 65 for Pomeranz. Runner goes, pitches inside, and it'll be a stolen base for Will Myers. He was getting a good lead, and he ended up taking advantage of that good lead.
Derek Norris could see it in front of him, knew that as soon as the leg was lifted by Pomeranz, and with a 2-2 count, no reason for Myers to look back. He could run straight for the bag because of 2 outs and 2 strikes. Then in contact, he could keep running anyway.
3-2 pitch is popped up right near the mound, and Donaldson right on the rubber as Pomeranz gets out of the way. He grabs it, and the Rays do not score. They strand a runner, and we're headed to the 5th. Still 3-0 A's. In-depth sports news for the Bay Area fan. Know it all with Sportsnet Center. It's brought to you by Hyundai. It's tonight at 10:30, and it's on our sister station, Comcast Sportsnet Bay Area. You don't want to miss it. Steve Kerr will be in studio. And Monty Poole, of course, the Warriors insider, is going to have more on the Steve Kerr hiring. And also highlights from this A's-Rays game. Ahmed Freed, David Feldman will host. So check it out. Steve Kerr in studio. The new head coach of the Golden State Warriors. Donaldson leading it off, followed by Moss and Cespedes. Heart of the order. Jake Odorizzi back out there.
And with the lefty, Ramos still warming up as he was last inning. Just wonder if this is a one-batter, Moss and then Cespedes and Reddick. So 2 of the 3 next hitters are lefties. And, of course, they're always concerned about the pitch count. We'll see with Odorizzi as he's approaching 100. Did strike out the side last inning again. Took him about 40 pitches to do it.
Yes, he did. He struck out the side 2 innings in a row. He's got 6 strikeouts in the last 2 innings. 0-2 pitch is outside. Take a look at this one.
I don't think so. I think this might have been strike 3, unless the cut took it a little bit off the plate. But if Jose Molina took it there, then I mean, that's called the black. I mean, there is a black little rim underneath the dirt. Only the white part is showing. But as they say on the corner on the black, that was on the black. You don't see the black there.
So the count 1-2 to Donaldson. Fastball up and in. Donaldson tonight, a walk in the first and a ground out in the second. Setting up outside, and a high fastball. Donaldson went up to get it. Bounces off the facing of the upper deck. 101 pitches for Odorizzi. The most he has thrown this year is 101. Did it 2 starts ago. So he's going to surpass that total, and now it's 3-2. So it was 0-2. Missed on a close pitch. Now it's 3-2. Now pitch is cued, just foul. Look out for that one.
How did that not hit the bag? The way the A's are going, that I figure that's hitting the bag, or maybe a double.
Triple.
And this is a bad feeling, because you take a big swing and you look to left field and look to right field and you don't look in the air, and he has absolutely no clue that the ball just whipped past the first base bag.
So another 3-2 to Donaldson. Yeah, good swing. Pitch out over the plate, and the count remains full. The young man is working hard tonight. And he's going to get Donaldson on a pop-up to shallow right field. That's Rodriguez, the second baseman, who goes back, makes the catch, and that's out number 1. So here's Moss. Moss has hit a fly ball to left field, and he has struck out. Odorizzi has 8 strikeouts. So I think the stuff is there, Ray.
Yeah.
It just needs to tighten it up just a little bit. First pitch to Moss is low. A's with 4 hits in the game. The Rays with just 2. Moss was trying to get himself in double figures in home runs. He's got 9.
Well, the interesting article where he talked about just this one thing. He does not believe that he's a big swing, try to hit home runs all the time. But you go back to the division series against the Tigers. Granted, the A's had some time off, but he could not catch up the fastball from the right-handers thrown. The right-handed pitchers of the Tigers, and those same right-handers will be in the rotation next week.
Drive to center. Jennings goes back. He's got it, and that's out number 2. That shows you how strong Moss is. I think you may have got that one off the end of the bat.
Number 52, Astros.
Exactly right. Yeah, the location of the pitch was outside, and has the power to hit it out to center field or left center.
So Cespedes steps in. He has struck out a couple times tonight. Both his strikeouts swinging. That one cuts off the plate. Cespedes now 8th in the American League in doubles. He's got 13 of them. So he's in the top 10 in that category.
If a pitcher looks in after Jose Molina jerks his glove, and a lot of catchers do it, and jerk in the strike zone, and their head follows it, and all of a sudden they look at it and they see it the strike, and it's not called a strike. That's frustrating for a pitcher.
And a 4-pitch walk to Cespedes. So that's 5 walks, and I think that's going to be it for Odorizzi. And it is. So Jake Odorizzi, 113 pitches in 4 2/3 innings tonight. So when it's time for change, think Speedy Oil Change and Tune Up, your oil change, tune up, and repair experts.
Pay tribute to the 1974 Cy Young Award winner and one of the A's all-time great, Jim Catfish Hunter. 7:05 p.m. game against the Angels. 15,000 fans will receive Catfish Hunter bobblehead presented by State Farm. In addition, fans can purchase tickets for a special Hall of Fame autograph session with Ronnie Fingers and Reggie Jackson prior to Saturday's game. For information and tickets, visit athletics.com/1974, or you can call 877-493-BALL. And I will simply say this, partner, that guy's going to have the bobblehead made in his honor, Jim Catfish Hunter. When he pitched, this game would already be over. It's in the 5th inning in the 2 hours.
Yeah, we like it for that.
That's one thing about Cat. He would throw, and he may give a few home runs, but he would do it quickly. An hour 50, hour 2 hours maybe.
Amazing.
Max.
Think about it.
Oh, yeah. We're in the 5th inning already.
So here is Cesar Ramos, 29-year-old left-hander who made 7 starts, but now back in the bullpen.
Now you have the fans yelling, "Come on, Blue!" As home plate umpire Pat Holberg not calling, I guess, the pitches according to the fans what they thought were strikes.
2-0 pitch, and that's chopped foul. Headed down the right field line. So 2-1 to Reddick, who has struck out twice, once looking and once swinging. Shift is on for Reddick with Escobar, the shortstop, playing right behind second base. Not to the right of second base, but pretty much right behind it. Outfielders kind of pinching the alleys a little bit. Reddick hits one very high to right field, but playable for Myers, who looked like he may have lost it momentarily. Now he comes well in, and he makes the catch. Side retired. So Ramos comes in, he gets Reddick, and we're headed to the bottom of the 5th. 3-0 Athletics.
It's all about hitting with 2 outs. The A's, a couple of runners on base. Coco Crisp with a 2-run double, scoring Norris and Sogard, and with Coco at second base, John Jaso adds an opposite field single to score Coco. 3 runs coming in the 2nd inning. 3 runs coming with 2 outs. Gives the A's, I think, 27 runs scored with 2 outs going back to May the 10th, and this the 9th game, and that's the scoring in the game. Rays with just a couple of hits against Coop Pomeranz through 4. Jake Odorizzi is out after 4 2/3 innings. There's John Jaso, the former Ray. As a DH, you're also, I guess, you're on the bench, so you warm up pitches between innings if the other catcher or the catcher in the game is on base or has the gear off, and Jaso did that between innings.
Pomeranz first pitch to Loney. He's outside. Loney, Escobar, Molina, the bottom 3 for the Rays. Rays have stranded 3 through the first 4 innings. Pomeranz has walked 2. He has struck out 2. Up and in 2-0. The Mariners scored 4 in the top of the 3rd in Arlington. So the Mariners lead the Rangers 4-1.
Cap, we talk about the length of the game and of course the number of pitches thrown by Odorizzi, the 113 4 2/3. It can also have an effect on, in this case, Pomeranz, the A's starting pitcher, because of the amount of time in the dugout. And while you're not opposed to being in the dugout a long time if your club's scoring runs, but all the pitches thrown with the exception of the second and the 3 runs, the A's have not capitalized or did not capitalize on the wildness of Odorizzi. Over easy.
I can hear Chili saying that.
Well, that's better than trying to pronounce his name, so he simplified it by saying over easy. Much like his eggs that way, and that's why it just came to him so quickly.
3-1 to Loney, who had a base hit leading off the 3rd inning. And a fastball to hit, fouled it back, and the count is now full. 72 pitches for Pomeranz.
First game he pitched, which was the second game of the doubleheader, it was just a 2-0 game. But everything was happening just like in this game. It just seems like it's so one-sided with the A's at the plate so much, but it's still just 3-0.
Payoff pitch to Loney, foul back. Yeah, some games, just the feel of the game is often different than what the scoreboard says, and I think tonight is one of those. I mean, the call at first base remains a huge play in this game. Another 3-2 to Loney, and here it is. And another foul ball.
Yeah, you just never know what might have happened after that. And of course, if the Rays get the call, that might change everything from their standpoint with regard to hitting. And following Jennings is Longoria.
Well,
and that's a first and third 2 outs with Longoria up versus the double play upheld. But making sure all they want on Diamond Vision is the umpires in New York that make the final call, and that's what's happened tonight.
And a foul tip. Norris cannot quite hang on. This is the play. It was bases loaded, 1 out, and the A's leading 3-0. And it was very close and called out. It was reviewed, and the call stands.
Looks like Gentry and Melvin had a wager. and Gentry slapping the hands together, and Melvin with a little smile.
Strike 3 called right on the outside corner. Perfect pitch by Pomeranz.
Well, against Loney, it takes a perfect pitch, and that one was there. Fouled off 3 with a couple of strikes, but nailed the outside corner. Great center field camera here, right over the pitcher's mound. And according to that shot, according to Pat Holberg, the home plate umpire, he liked it. Height-wise good, just a question whether it was on the plate or not. And he saw it enough to be a strike. We'll see with the overhead just on the 17th inch of the 17-inch wide plate.
Perfect pitch.
Yeah, that's about as perfect as you can throw.
So here's Escobar with 1 out. He takes down and in.
The Rays just came from Anaheim, where a surprising statistic was divulged with Escobar hitting an 0-2 pitch off Jared Weaver, the first ever home run that Weaver had ever given up on an 0-2 pitch. Hard to believe in his career.
He's pitched a lot of innings.
Yeah, a lot of starts, and Escobar had done it earlier with the Braves, but when I saw that, I said, you got to be kidding me. And it was the first time that Weaver had ever done it.
I bet he knew it too.
Yeah, I think the number of starts that he had throughout his career, I saw 167 or something, whatever the starts, but and this one,
that was called a strike. All right.
Wow. And he's shaking his head even before Holberg threw up the hand.
And that's right back at Pomeranz. He goes down to his seat, and it's a base hit for Escobar. That was a little bit scary.
Not a good idea that Derek Norris is going out, because center field camera is good, which shows the ball. Saw the glove when he went down, and he threw the glove up just in case the ball found his glove. But scary, very, very scary, because Pomeranz is not your shorter variety of a pitcher. He is tall at about 6'4", and he had to get down quickly.
So here's Jose Molina. Molina came to bat in the third inning with runners at first and second and nobody out, and he had a shallow fly ball to right field. Swing, and a foul tip.
Well, you can see that Ryan Hannigan had been doing most of the catching, as Benjamin Molina does not have a run driven in, or a home run, of course, and hitting 113 starting this at bat. And there are some catchers that want to be backup catchers, you know, and just you don't expect to catch that much. But in the case of Hannigan with I guess a hamstring injury, trying to take it a little slowly with him, does force the backup to play a little bit more.
Well, the Rays like Molina enough to bring him back in a 2-year contract. Yeah. So he's valuable to them. And again, the first catcher.
And the way he's taking batting practice today, there's nothing wrong with him.
Hamstring, right?
Yeah, it didn't affect his swing, though, because he was crushing the ball in batting practice. And he's pleading with the Rays not to put him on the disabled list, but you get to the point where you have to make a decision if you have just one catcher.
Yeah, that's a little bit scary.
But the thing they like about Molina is his ability to call a game, handle pitching staff. He's a veteran, and I think that is worthy of the 2-year contract, to lock somebody up instead of letting him float around different clubs. But Hannigan gets most of the catching when healthy.
And he knows he's a backup, right?
That's right, absolutely. Yeah, and that's what I've, you know, there have been catchers that I've known in the past who say, don't play me, don't overexpose me. And there have been other players who have said that.
Molina is able to hold up. I think if Milwaukee calls this a swing,
yeah,
I think the dugout is going to lose their mind.
Yeah.
Dan Otero starts to throw.
I remember for Pomeranz, this is his third start, and he's gone 5 innings in each of his first 2 starts.
That one hit foul. Trying to get there tonight.
You know, we saw Jesse Chavez on Sunday struggle. 108 pitches, 5 innings, and Jesse was saying tonight that he knew after the 4 innings that it was going to be a longer outing for him just to get through 5 innings. And Bob Melvin showed the confidence in him to leave him in, to let him get the 5 and qualify for the win.
Pomeranz, the 2-2 pitch, another foul ball. So this is the Derek Norris treatment right here. Lots of foul balls. Good enough for a win on Sunday for Jesse Chavez. 3 walks, 6 strikeouts.
He was actually talking about the number of curveballs he threw, and then he quickly reminded himself that his best pitch was his curveball that he kept throwing to get those 6 strikeouts.
Another 2-2. Hard slider. Molina takes it. Full count. Brandon Geyer, the leadoff hitter, is in the on-deck circle. Well, Pomeranz retired the first 6 in this game. Escobar with this lead. Pomeranz will check.
Joe Madden might be hoping for Molina to put the ball in play and have his runner on the move to stay out of a possible double play.
Not running, and that's hit towards short. Backhanded by Punto. Out at second, out at first, and that's a double play. So, second double play of the night for the A's. Nothing better than that. We're headed to the 6th, 3-0 Athletics. Have helped the A's tonight. This is the one that ended the 5th inning.
Hit sharply. Molina does hit a greater percentage of the balls put in play on the ground. That one he did. And once this happens, actually they hurriedly made this play. Didn't have to. And the ball handled nicely by Brandon Moss at first base. Molina wasn't even there. And so that gets Pomeranz out of a tough inning. And in between innings, this is what the discussion. How do you feel? Nice job. It's almost like that quick hook on the other night.
That's right. How do you feel? You're good. Another great performance by Pomeranz. Ends up with 89 pitches, 5 shutout innings for the 3rd start in a row.
3rd consecutive start, exactly. In the discussion with 89 pitches, and we talked about the 68, or there was a time called by Derek Norris, but the problem probably was that did not want to maybe send him out and have him exceed what they wanted to have him pitch. Pretty stressful innings for him as well, with 3-ball counts, plenty of them.
So here is Norris. Norris has walked twice, scored a run, stole a base. Cesar Ramos is back out there. Ramos got the final out at the bottom of the 5th inning. There's a ball loose from the bullpen. It's rolling all the way down. Stops in front of the Rays dugout, so that ball is picked up.
But in the American League, there are 2 stadiums for baseball that have the bullpens on the field, and we're looking at one here, and the team in the green and gold has the other one. But at least from the A standpoint, when pitchers warm up the bullpen, they throw it towards the outfield, and so there may be a delay of the game of the ball in the outfield, but never rolling down towards the home plate area. One Cardinals.
Yeah.
Oviedo. Or Oviedo. 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 Thank you. Oviedo.
So 2-2 now to Norris.
Smith.
Who are you talking to?
You're trying to get the pronunciation.
We have a three-man booth here.
Smith is easy. Jones is easy. Oviedo.
Inside, and Norris has worked the count full again. 3-2. Derek Norris put on a clinic tonight how to take pitches and how to foul pitches off. Two. It's high, and Norris has walked again. This one a leadoff walk here in the 6th. All right, let's take a look at tomorrow's pitching probables, brought to you by Chevron Care for your car. Couple of lefties. Tommy Milone will make his 8th start, and Eric Bedard will make his 7th start. And Eric Bedard is one of those veterans that you sign in case you need a veteran starter, and the Rays have, and he's pitched well. So Bedard and Malone tomorrow, and we'll have it for you right here on Comcast Sportsnet California.
And just plan to settle in and watch a little A's baseball. May take 3.5 hours, 4 hours maybe, but it'll be good baseball.
Punto has hit a fly ball to left field, and he has struck out, getting a start at shortstop tonight. Longoria in at third. And a little flare to right center, and that'll drop. Norris read it all the way. He's going to go to third without a throw, and the A's have first and third and nobody out. Nothing but a little flare. The A's will take it.
Yes, they will. Another opportunity with a runner at third and less than 2 outs. Ball jammed Nick Punto, but think about a flare. Your first base, Norris, seeing the ball is going to drop, he can continue to run, knowing that Jennings, even with his speed, has no chance to get to the ball. And Derek Norris continued to fly around the bases. We've seen 25 pitches tonight, Derek Norris has, and 3 at-bats, walked all 3 times. Scored the first run.
Here's Sogard. Single and a walk and a run scored for Eric Sogard. Shows bunt, pulls the bat back, pitches high. So the A's with a 3-0 lead, but a great opportunity here to add on as we get close to the late innings.
I think Sogard squaring around the bunt. If he had bunted, it would either have been a safety squeeze or even a sacrifice. They're just trying to get some movement on the infield by the Rays, and does have Longoria even with the back up the middle, looking for a double play, willing to give up a run to turn 2.
Ramos keeping a close eye on Nick Punto at first.
Well, Punto getting a huge lead off first and drawing a throw from Ramos.
He does have a good lead.
As he inches back towards first base.
Bunted nicely. The throw is going to be to second, and safe at second base is Punto. Norris had a hold at third. Loney decided to try to get the runner at second, and he couldn't do it, and now the bases are loaded. So Punto hustling to second, just got in ahead of the throw.
Well, we know that Loney can play some first base. It got to him quickly, but also getting to second base quickly was Nick Punto. And great call, because it is a fielder's choice, but Nick Punto really hustling. Norris smartly coming down the line, so it was a safety bunt squeeze, which means that he does not have to go on contact. If he had gone on contact, maybe he would have attempted with the suicide squeeze, but That was simply just trying to advance the runner, and ends up getting himself at first on a fielder's choice.
So Coco Crisp will hit with the bases loaded and nobody out. Ramos will stay in the game.
You know, that's a straight fielder's choice. Anytime a bunt like that, even first and third. I'm surprised it wasn't a sacrifice too, because he did bunt. It was not as if 2 outs in trying to do that. Nobody out, but I do remember over the past years there have been some strange official scoring rulings here, but we shall see if that's changed. But
that is stuck in your mind.
Yeah.
Probably right.
Here's another golden opportunity.
First pitch to Coco. Fouled straight back. A tailing fastball from Ramos.
Great pitch to hit, and one that Coco jumped on, not taking anything. Getting the fastball down the middle of the plate.
Coco, 2 doubles, 2 RBIs. He has also struck out. Strike on the inside corner, and now it's 0-2.
Pitch to the outside, ended up close to the middle of the plate, and then Molina moves inside. Fastball nailed in the inside corner. Coco took a similar pitch, hitting from the left side against Odorizzi in his last at bat.
So Coco have to battle out of an 0-2 count. Set up inside, and it runs inside and grabs the corner. Strike 3 call. So Ramos gets a big strikeout of Coco Crisp.
Well, they talk about backing up fastballs, and Coco took a similar pitch for strike 2, and Jose Molina goes right back inside with the same call and a fastball inside, and Coco backed up, knew he couldn't pull the trigger, and he's a strikeout victim.
So now Jaso will hit against the left-hander. Jaso has just 8 at-bats against left-handed pitching this year. He's 1 for 8. Swing and a foul tip at a slider.
Well, that's a good point, because in the past, when a situation like this came up, and let's say Jaso was the starting catcher, Norris might pinch hit for him. And as a result, would not see as many left-handed pitchers. But since Norris is catching Jaso as a DH, put the ball in play and take the chances.
Pitches a fastball outside from Ramos. Oviedo still warming up in the bullpen. He's the right-hander, so he may come in to face Donaldson. He's been down there a while, so he's ready. One pitch, swing and a miss, and a ball that had a lot of sinking action down and into Jaso. Watch the movement on this pitch.
That's a ball almost out of his hand, and it just continued, and right shin guard of Jose Molina helped him, because the ball sinking so much went off the tip of his catcher's mitt, but hit his right shin guard to keep the ball in front of him.
So Ramos is ready. The 1-2 pitch to Jaso. And he missed with a fastball very close and called the ball 2-2. Just off the plate a little bit.
Thought he might go to the slider, try to get him to chase again. And of course, if he does it now and misses, then it's figured it's going to be a fastball. I thought the 1-2 might be the slider to try to chase him.
Fastball in, and it's rolled foul.
See what happens in these situations. You're a catcher. You're trying to call a game as you would as a catcher, and you're hitting.
Probably can't help it, right?
Well, it's just natural. Just natural. And a lot of times, if as a hitter you can't hit a certain pitch, and as a catcher you keep calling it, figure if I can't hit it, I'm going to keep calling it. Maybe somebody else can't hit it either. But Jose Molina knows his staff. He knows how to call a game, and well, he gives a lot of confidence to his pitchers by calling certain pitches in situations that normally they might not be wanting to throw, but they do anyway because he calls it.
Slider and Jaso, that's a good take.
Yes, it is.
So now full count.
And see, after the fastball missed, he had to be thinking, he might have been thinking a slider 1 and 2, threw him a fastball, took it just off the plate, then the slider. It's got to be sitting dead right here with a fastball.
And it is a fastball, and he fouls it back.
And that's one of the problems if you throw a slider 2 and 2 and you miss it, especially with the bases loaded. You don't want to take a chance of throwing another slider. If you miss, then you're going to walk in a run. The old theory about I'm going to make you put the ball in play, I'm not going to walk you. Well, that's one fastball 3 and 2. See if he stays with it.
Norris, Punto, Sogard are the runners. 3-2 pitch, another fastball, and fouled right at home plate.
Emergency. That was an emergency swing because he started and looked close enough and went down to foul it as the ball was almost past him.
Key point in the game right here. Three-two pitch, fastball, hit to left field. Geyer in, Norris tagging, Norris bluffs, and he's not going to go. And Geyer, we now know, has a pretty good arm as he got it back in quickly and hit his cutoff man. So Ramos wins that battle as Jaso flies out to left field. So with that, Joe Madden comes out and he's pointing to the right-hander to face Donaldson. So we got a break in the action. When it's time for change, think Speedy Oil Change and Tune-Up, your oil change, tune-up, and repair experts.
Coliseum, where 10,000 fans will receive an elephant batting practice camp presented by Cash Creek Casino Resort prior to the 1:05 p.m. matinee game against the Detroit Tigers. This must-have snapback hat features a flat bill and the iconic A's elephant logo. For more information and tickets, visit athletics.com/tickets or call 877-493-BALL.
So the bases are still loaded. The A's have not scored in this inning, and it'll be up to Donaldson, and he's going to face the new pitcher. It's Juan Carlos Oviedo. 12 strikeouts in 12 and a third innings. Free agent signing by the Rays in the offseason. Not going to really get into the story that much, Ray, but He used to be Leo Nunez, who was the closer for the Marlins. He was pretty good.
That's right.
But that was not his real name. He's Juan Carlos Oviedo. He had Tommy John surgery a couple years ago, so coming back from that, he's got good stuff. Juan Carlos Oviedo.
They get a new name, new arm. Always good things can happen, you know. Well, this is a big inning. You're right, because the A's bases loaded, nobody out. Bottom three of the batting order getting on. And now Donaldson faces the right-hander Oviedo after Ramos gets a strikeout and a pop-up for a fly ball to left field. Too shallow to try to score Norris.
0-1 to Donaldson. Here's the pitch. Old foul, got a piece of Molina. And Jose's going to try to walk this one off.
And Ryan Hannigan someplace is yelling, hang in there, Jose. Big swing by Josh Donaldson. Got him on the left foot. Can you believe that? Going down to one knee. That's dangerous in itself because of a runner at third base. Hard to block a ball as you go down to the knee, but by him doing that, it missed pretty much all of the equipment that he's wearing and hit him on the left foot.
So 0-2 to Donaldson. Donaldson 0 for 2 with a walk so far tonight. Setting up outside, and it's off the glove of Molina. It was indeed outside.
Well, the way he slings the ball, this is tough to catch. Whew. And Molina trying to be mobile, but gets the foul ball off his left foot, and then he has to go sharply, quickly to his right. And that left foot didn't move that much, neither did his body. Fortunately got a glove on it. Fortunately for them, for the Rays, because that's a run that gets by.
1-2 pitch, kind of swinging. Like an off-speed pitch that kind of backed up. Well, Donaldson swings and misses. So the A's have the bases loaded, nobody out, and they do not score. Bottom of the sixth coming up. Fan photo. Put your name down in your hometown. You're going to have a chance to be shown in an upcoming game broadcast. It's brought to you by AT&T. That is John Peterson from San Lorenzo, and that was a daddy-daughter day at the game. Looks like they're having a great time at the Coliseum. So, John Peterson, thanks for your photo. Fan photo of the game. Brought to you by AT&T. When it's time for change, think Speedy Oil Change and Tune-Up. Your oil change, tune-up, and repair experts. Dan Otero comes in. 4-0 with a tidy 1.78 ERA. He's been terrific out of the bullpen. And he will face the top of the order for the Rays, with the A's leading 3-0. So Geyer, Jennings, Longoria. Geyer shows bunt, takes high. Geyer had the base hit in the third inning that loaded the bases. And then Jennings hit into the double play. So 2-0 to Brandon Geyer. Three 3-0.
Sinker ball pitcher getting underneath these first two actually the second two fastballs. First one was a slider.
Craig Gentry takes over in center field. Do not know why. When we hear, we'll let you know. So Coco out, Gentry in. So we hope nothing wrong with Coco, but something must be up, otherwise he would not be coming out of the game.
Yeah, it's a little surprising.
Fastball, swing and a miss by Geyer. Jennings to follow, and then Longoria here in the bottom of the sixth inning. Three-two pitches hit hard but foul. Geyer may have swung at ball four, and well, we've seen the Rays do that 3 times tonight.
Well, first 3 pitches out of the strike zone, slider, fastball, and then he throws a fastball that was questionable. Got a strike call, make it 3-1, and that's 3-2, but definitely swung at ball 4.
It's that one to Punto, who backhand straightens up, throws in time, 1 out.
So 2 hitters, Rodriguez and now Geyer, who swung at ball 4 a couple of times. Both of them made out, and this one sharply hit, but Nick Punto with a nice backhand and a strong throw across the diamond. Well, those backhands, it's amazing, the good hands, but also the strong arm. I always think of Mike Gallego when he says the backhand is the best because it sets you up to make the throw. To try to get in front, you have to take a couple of extra steps. So Punto with the good hands, and there's a pretty good infielder himself. Mike Gallego will be a part of the celebration of the '89 World Championship, along with pitching coach Kurt Young.
And a quick 0-2 to Desmond Jennings. With Jennings now hitting .238. Runs inside, where the Rays really struggling offensively. Coming into tonight's game, they had scored a total of 14 runs in their last 6 games.
And the morning paper, that man right there, Evan Longoria, the star of this club, really down on himself.
Reddick's under it. He's got it, and that's out number 2. Yeah, Longoria said, listen, I haven't been very good.
Yeah. And he normally is very good in Anaheim, where the Rays played the Angels over the weekend, and Evan Longoria from Southern California near Anaheim, and he normally hits extremely well, but did not a 3-game series. The old saying goes, one hitter does not a team make. You have to have 9 or the offense of everybody. You can't depend on just one hitter.
So Longoria steps in. He has struck out and grounded out. Check swing roller. Donaldson right on the bag. Throws, and they got him. So Longoria can't believe it. A check swing roller. He's retired, and Otero has a 3-up, 3-down, bottom of the 6th. is brought to you by Evergood Sausage Company. Get grilling. Beautiful night in St. Petersburg. We're indoors, but it's warm weather here in Florida. That's the porch. I knew that because that's what the sign says right above.
Oh, I thought you heard Delaire.
It's a combination.
It's like Edgar's place in Seattle, huh?
Yeah.
Edgar Martinez, the great DH. Hey, we have a scoring change here. Okay, last inning when Eric Sogard laid down that bunt, kind of a safety squeeze on Loney tried to go to second base. They said fielder's choice, but they changed it to a base hit.
Wow.
So
now even scoring decisions are going the A's way. That's good for Sogard.
Well, it's great for him, but a little bit strange. I mean, strange initially. There was a fielder's choice, should have been a sacrifice, at least a sacrifice, and then they said, "Oh, base hit, first base."
1-1 to Moss. Cues it foul. Moss chipped his bat. So he'll get a new one. The ball rolled over in front of the dugout. So a new piece of wood for Moss. Behind in the count 1-2 to Juan Carlos Oviedo.
Coco Crisp, a couple of doubles to start the game, driving in 2 runs, and then a couple of called strike threes on a 1-2 fastball and to left, batting left-handed, and then 0-2 inside.
That one is drilled right field fair. It bounces up over the sidewall and out of play, and it'll be a double for Moss.
Much like the new lumber, because got a fastball to hit about belt high, and the strength of Brandon Moss crushing it down the right field line, and that's when you know you're going good, because it's about foot fair.
Left fielder,
see the mixture of tires, ground up tires.
Yep.
Coming up out of the ground.
So here's Cespedes stepping in. And Cespedes hits one very high, shallow left field. Escobar out, Geyer in. And Geyer has it. So Cespedes just got underneath it, flies out to left field.
Sure to take advantage of the Xfinity Friday Family Pack. Every Friday home game, you can get 4 Plaza level tickets, 4 Coliseum hot dogs, 4 medium sodas, and 4 bags of peanuts, and it's just $50. Tickets are limited, so act fast. For more information and tickets, go to Oakland app or go to athletics.com/Friday, or if you want to go to oaklandathletics.com, you can do that as well. But athletics.com/Friday.
Here's Reddick, chance to knock in a run. Reddick is 0 for 3, couple of strikeouts and a flyout. So we just got the word on Coco Crisp. He left the game with soreness in his neck. So the neck that was bothering him when he banged into the wall in Oakland. So still bothering him a little bit. So he is out of the game. So Gentry now in center field and in the leadoff spot. 0-1 to Reddick. Reddick got a fastball to hit. So this was the original injury to Coco Crisp. It was a sore neck, and you can see why right here. You saw it. He really hit the wall hard.
That was a first game of the doubleheader 2 weeks ago tomorrow, and did not play until the A's got to Cleveland over the weekend. Gentry stepping in. Boy, did you see that beautiful sunny day in Oakland in that game?
That looked nice.
Yeah.
Reddick chased upstairs 93 miles an hour. Reddick strikes out for the 3rd time.
Well, the 0-1 was a pitch that was, he thought, questionable, and then went after a fastball out of the strike zone.
So the A's tonight have struck out 11 times. And here's Norris. Quite a night for Norris. He's walked 3 times, scored a run, and he has a stolen base. but each one of his walks, and there is such a thing as an impressive walk. I think certainly the last two have been impressive.
That was the 26th pitch he's seen tonight. So yes, he has done a good job walking the 3 times, seeing a lot of pitches. And actually, you look at Odorizzi, the youngster who started the game, went just 4 2/3 innings. And granted, there were a lot of foul balls before he got to 2 strikes. But I had him for 21 foul balls after the A's fell behind to 2 strikes. 21 pitches. So you reduce that. If you're able to put a hitter away, still in the game for at least another inning or 2.
Another inning.
Yeah. But good advance by the Athletics in fouling off those pitchers' pitches. Norris himself fouled off 8.
1-1, setting up outside, missed outside, 2-1. Mariners leading the Rangers. It's 5-2 in the bottom of the 6th inning in Arlington. Prince Fielder was back in the lineup tonight, but then he was a late scratch. He missed a couple games. They thought they had him back. He must have taken some batting practice and not felt quite right. Up the middle, but right to Rodriguez, who was playing that way. Throws to first. Side retired. So the A's got a leadoff double from Moss, but can't get him home. A's have now stranded 10. 7th inning stretch from St. Petersburg. The A's leading 3-0, bottom of the 7th inning. 3-7-0 for the A's, 0-3-0 for the Rays. So Dan Otero and a quick bottom of the 6th. So he's going to pitch the 7th with Jeff Francis getting up for the first time in his first game in an A's uniform. So Myers, Rodriguez, and Logan Forsythe. 4, 5, and 6 hitters for the Rays. Matt Joyce has come out into the on-deck circle, so that would be Sean Rodriguez's spot. Joyce, a left-handed hitter.
And maybe that's why Francis is up in the bullpen, just in case.
First pitch to Myers, a slider that stays inside. Myers has struck out and he has walked. He's also stolen a base. Otero had a 3-up, 3-down 6 with a couple of ground ball outs. And now 2-0. So Francis warming up in the A's bullpen. Red Boxberger, a right-hander, warming up in the Rays bullpen. Called strike. 2-1 to Myers.
First two pitches from Otero inside. He likes to throw the sinking fastball inside to right-handers and tries to get them to hit on top of the ball, ground out to the left side. Of course, when he has to go to the middle of the plate, which he just did, take it.
So 3-1 now to Myers. The Rays have 3 singles in this game. They've received a couple of walks. And they received another walk. So a leadoff walk to Myers.
And again, he got under and pushed the ball. Did Otero.
Well, Otero's just a guy that just doesn't walk people very often. So here's Joyce. So Joyce hitting for Rodriguez. So Rodriguez was 0 for 2 while he was in there. Myers takes his lead at first. Joyce fouls it. The Yankees are at Wrigley Field tonight. It's 2-0 Chicago in the 6th inning, and the big story there is Masahiro Tanaka for the Yankees is trying to go to 7-0. He has started this season 6-0 for the Yankees, but he's trailing tonight 2-0 at Wrigley. Outside, and now 1-1 to Joyce.
Well, he has not lost in over a year. No. He didn't lose last year. What, 24 and 0 in Japan, and perfect this year for the Yankees.
For the Yankees, with their injuries, especially to their starters, they have to be thrilled with what Tanaka's doing. He's leading their staff. Joyce takes a strike, and it's 1-2.
Well, the A's are employing a shift against Matt Joyce, but some interesting notes in their notes by the Rays as this pitch barely just outside, sinking it away. He has 10 opposite field hits. He only had 11 all last season, and yet the A's still think he's going to pull the ball against Otero.
To left field, Cespedes in and over, and he's got it, and that's out number 1.
Something that Carlos Pena did here, paying for Joe Madden the Rays. He became more of a gap-to-gap hitter and mistake hitting home runs. Still hit a lot of home runs, but well, you use the whole field instead of just one-dimensional. I think the Rays might be the first team to ever really employ the shift as much as we've seen around baseball.
Seemed like they did start it a couple years ago. So with 1 out, here's Logan Forsythe.
If there's a situation where a pinch hitter and Francis, the lefty, is up, but he's not brought in, Otero, because he usually is a sinker ball pitcher, keeps the ball on the ground and keeps it in the park, leaves him in, and we'll see what happens in this at bat. And maybe Loney, who is the hitter due up, probably will not pinch hit for him.
And a quick 0-2. So Forsythe has watched 2 grab the outside corner, and it's 0-2. 6 ground ball double plays induced by Otero.
We got 3.
That's a lot for a reliever.
He had 3 over the weekend, and when he came in relief of Kazmir, who was ejected on bigger than the first pitch to Aviles, the 5-4-3 double play, and then had 2 more. 8 ground ball outs, and the 11 outs recorded by Otero to get the win.
0-2 pitch inside. Indians leading the Tigers 6-2 in the bottom of the 8th inning in Cleveland. The Tigers went in there just about as hot as the A's have been, but Indians won last night, winning again tonight. Slider missed in the dirt, so the count now 2-2. Blue Jays leading the Red Sox 7-4 in the bottom of the 8th inning in Boston. Otero with a look at Myers, and the pitch is rolled to Donaldson. He's got it. Throws to second, throws in the dirt. Sogard digs it out with a backhand. How about that play?
Almost like it was an afterthrow by Donaldson, whether to throw to first or try to throw the ball to second base. Normally the throws from Donaldson to second are chest high. This one, talk about a great play, great pick by Sogard at second base. Maybe he realized he got a base hit on the bunt that he laid down. He said, I'll pick it at second and really have a good night. But that's a great help because he misses the ball. That's in right field. That's maybe second and third, but great hands by Eric Sogard. Must be the nerd power because that worked.
So here's Loney, a single and a strikeout for Loney. He's got 1 home run on the year. See where the Red Sox signed Stephen Drew today. That was the big news coming out of Boston. Of course, Stephen Drew was one of the free agents that had not signed yet, but he signed back with the Red Sox.
And they don't have to give up a draft choice. And they didn't have to wait till after the draft, which is going to be in the early part of June. So they were able to do it. And I guess the biggest question is the money he turned down, the qualifying offer, and the money he got, if it's prorated or just took less. But
well, he got 1 year $10 million.
Yeah.
Gregerson throwing, and the qualifying offer was $14 million. So he basically lost $4 million, but it's the same amount.
Right. Considering the time that he is joining the club.
Yeah. Bounced over the mound. Punto has it. Flips to first, and Otero does it again. Leadoff walk, no problem. He pitches 2 very good innings, and we are on to the 8th. 3-0, the A's lead.
Chip and Chili Platter presented by Ross Dress for Less. This one-of-a-kind item recognizes A's bench coach Chipper Hale and hitting coach Chili Davis. The Chip and Chili Platter will be a great addition to any barbecue. For information and tickets, visit athletics.com/tickets, or you can call 877-493-BALL.
So 3-0, the A's lead the Rays. We've reached the 8th inning. It's time for change. Think Speedy Oil Change and Tune-Up, your oil change, tune-up, and repair experts. It's Brad Boxberger who comes in. 0-1 with a 2.08 ERA for Boxberger. So Boxberger takes over. He's the 4th pitcher of the night. The Rays. Boxberger came to the Rays in the offseason with trade with the San Diego Padres. He's also got that guy in the trade, Logan Forsythe, who was the DH.
Yeah.
And now he's the second baseman.
Yeah.
What does that mean, Ray?
That means the pitcher's hitting in the 5th spot. Double switch in the American League, which is rarely seen.
So the DH is gone. So it's really not a huge deal, but if it did come up, the spot in the order comes up, Joe Madden will just basically have to pinch hit. Go to his bench.
Well, maybe all these strange things are happening tonight. You know, a lot of pitches thrown by Rizzi and pitcher hitting. It's on your birthday, maybe, because, and actually, there's a guy named Boxberger who's hitting, and it's like a cheeseburger. Boxberger, cheeseburger for my partner. Happy birthday. Happy birthday.
Thank you.
That's good. Hey, other guys, Sadahara was born on this day.
Anybody good at Bobby Bursar?
Cher. Joe Cocker.
Joe Cocker, he's good.
Yeah. Who's this guy? Is that your swing? Yeah. Is that you? Yeah. Wow. Boy, you were skinny.
late on a fastball even when I was 7 years old.
Look at you. David Wells, you have a perfect game.
Ramon Hernandez.
Yeah. Adam Rosales. Little Glenn Kuiper on the family farm in Wisconsin. Got his hat on backwards. Just got finished milking the cows and grab a bat. No. Go get them. Huh?
Dad would not allow the hat on backwards thing. If you're going to wear the hat,
that's right.
Wear it the right way.
That's a good pop there. That's for sure.
So 3-2 to Nick Punto.
Well, happy birthday. That's great. Spend it in St. Petersburg, Florida.
What can you do, huh?
Was it last year you spent it in wow,
Arlington? Throw to first by Loney, and the ball may have hit the bag.
It did.
But Loney made a very nice play that looked like the ball went right over the bag.
The ball went over the bag, and Loney hit the bag. Boy, see what happens on your birthday?
There's a lot going on there.
Check this out. This is going to be squibbed over the bag and maybe just hit the bag, and then it hit the bag again when he throws it to Boxberger covering. I think it skimmed the top of the bag. Great hustle by Punto. Of course, always with the head first slide at first. And Loney, yeah, just hit the top of the bag. So Loney decided, let's see if I can hit it again. And he does, and it pops straight up.
So when was the last time that a baseball hit a bag twice in one play in the matter of about 3 seconds? But it clearly did hit the bag when it was hit. You could see the ball really flatten out, and that made it a difficult play for Loney.
Did they give the bag an error on that? Oh, basic fielder's choice.
Sacrifice.
We never know what's going to be happening tonight. Yeah, it was Arlington, Texas for your life, and they brought the pizza in and had your number on it, right?
50.
Well, I wasn't saying it now.
50. Oh man. So what was the ruling on that?
It's got to be a base hit. Base hit. Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, if Sogard's bunt is a base hit, that has to be a hit.
So leadoff man aboard. Swinging his quick throw to first, and he gets back. Not by a lot. Loney can't believe it. That's Bill Welke down there at first, and it is the 8th inning.
And that is a great play.
Looking in the dugout.
That's a great play because the throw is back as Loney. And Loney taking his time.
Yes, he is.
Yeah.
And he's telling Boxberger, don't get back on the mound.
Right.
Don't get on the rubber.
Yeah. Loney thinks he got him.
Nick Punto's got that look like, hope they don't do anything here.
Well, that was a throw behind the left-handed hitter, and as a runner first base with a left-handed hitter, you feel you can get off the bag a little bit farther, but remember there's a Molina catching, and when that's the case, you cannot venture too far off the bag. Yadier, of course, Gold Glove winner, multiple Gold Gloves with the Cardinals, and his brother Jose both throw very well.
Sogard fouls it to the screen. So that's Gentry, who is now in the game for Coco Crisp. A little bit outside with an off-speed pitch. So he kind of float down and away to Sogard. Punto, the runner at first. Strike 3 call. So Sogard strikes out. 12 strikeouts now for Rays pitchers.
See the changeup, the circle changeup with the grip that the center field camera showed and floated in, and Sogard just frozen.
So top of the order, and Gentry. If you're just joining us, Coco Crisp left the game a couple innings ago. Soreness in that neck area again. Slider first strike. Gentry 291 overall. Good on base percentage. This is his 32nd game that he has appeared in. Runner goes, pitches high, throw to second base is not in time. So Punto with a stolen base.
Another quick release by Jose Molina, this time not much on the throw. High leg kick by the pitcher, and it was, but just could not get enough on it. Even a good throw probably would not have gotten Punto. Nick likes that head first slide, but see the hands with the fingers pointing up. So as much as he slides head first into first or second, third, wherever, the hands are usually up because he knows how hard the bags are and does not want to injure a thumb or a finger by jamming them into the bag.
So 1-1 to Gentry. And you see what Forsythe did, which you're starting to see guys do it more, where they just hold the tag on the guy. Because we've seen it a handful of times this year where players slide, but just for a split second, their foot or their hand or some part of their body comes off the bag, and they're not touching the bag, and they've been called out.
Exactly. And sometimes they even are successful pushing them off the bag.
Which a swipe tag really is not what you want to do anymore. Watch Forsythe. He just keeps his tag on Punto in case he comes off.
And the foot,
just stay there with it.
The foot comes off at all. The left foot continues to drag a little bit more, and head first slides here. Momentum a lot of times will take you over the bag.
Strike 3 call. Outside corner, and Gentry letting the umpire Pat know where he thought that pitch was. He thought it was outside.
Might be right.
And it was.
This time Jose Molina bringing it back into the strike zone and getting the call from the home plate umpire. Outside.
So Gentry not happy, and here's Jaso. Well, the A's certainly are happy with their 3-0 lead, Raven, but they've had a lot of chances to really blow this game open. They have stranded 10 through the first 7 innings.
Maybe somebody tell us what the average is runners in scoring position of the percentage. This has got to be pretty bad. I say that knowing that we're probably going to have it soon.
Longoria, a long run and a nice play in foul territory. So the A's get a leadoff single by Punto. He ends up being stranded at second base. Still 3-0 after 7.5.
This game summary is brought to you by your local Toyota dealers. And how about that? Athletics 3 with 2 outs in the second inning. They've gotten 8 hits on the night, a bunch of strikeouts. But the Rays have just picked up 3 hits, no runs. Drew Pomeranz looking for his 3rd consecutive win. And the rotation, 5 innings. Coco Crisp had to leave with a neck strain after driving in a couple with 2 doubles. Jake Orioles, 4 2/3 innings, 113 pitches. Rays offense, last 7 games, 14 runs, 3 singles tonight. And A's would like to see that happen for 6 more outs to record a victory and keep this road trip going with a lot of success. And it will be Luke Gregerson on to pitch for the Athletics in the bottom of the 8th inning.
So Luke Gregerson takes over. Dan Otero, 2 shutout innings after Drew Pomeranz, 5 shutout innings. So A's pitchers terrific again tonight, as Gregerson will face Escobar. Then we're going to have a pinch hitter. Looks like David DeJesus. And then Geyer at the top of the order. So Gregerson on here in the bottom of the 8th. A's nursing a 3-0 lead. First pitch is a fastball inside. Escobar has walked and singled.
Okay, the A's have needed their outstanding pitching tonight because with just the 3 runs and the opportunities the Rays have had, it's kind of fortunate, and A's hope it continues. There's a former Athletic, David DeJesus, to pinch hit, but just have to hope that the Rays' lack of offense continues in this 3-game series, especially the next 2 innings.
2-1 to Yunel Escobar. The Rays hits: Loney single in the 3rd, Geyer single in the 3rd, Escobar single in the 5th. That's it. Big chopper foul. Donaldson lets it roll into the A's bullpen. Guys are sitting outside down there. Josh Luque.
You know, there are times when a pitcher gets up in the bullpen, he usually comes in the game, and that's when Jeff Francis got up, did not come in the game. But usually, Kurt Young talks about it a lot, that if a pitcher gets up, he usually comes in the game. And in this case tonight, left Dan Otero in, ground ball pitcher, and got the job done.
A little bit high, 3-2.
Franson next to Sean Doolittle, and Fernando Abad to his right.
Payoff pitch is inside on a very close pitch, and it's a leadoff walk.
Trying to go front door with the slider, did not break sharply. Maybe he tried to have it break towards the middle of the plate, but going with the slider, which is his favorite pitch, it just did not break. Definitely off the plate inside.
All right, so here's DeJesus pinch hitting for Molina. So DeJesus, who plays pretty much every day for the Rays, 265 with 4 home runs so far. First pitch in for a strike. DeJesus was picked up by the Rays middle of the season last year and did a nice job for them, and then they re-signed him to a 2-year contract. 2-year deal for $10.5 million.
He likes it here, wanted to stay here, and not surprised. He likes Joe Madden. He likes knowing that.
Donaldson has it. Spins, fires to second for 1 on the first, safe. So the A's get the lead runner.
Hayes is coasting to first base, and the fact that this one was a good pitch, or a good throw to second base by Josh Donaldson, tried to complete the double play, but DeJesus runs too well, and a 5-4-3 with a high chopper to Josh Donaldson was not going to happen. Tried anyway. Clearly safe at first.
So now we're going to get another pinch hitter. Going to be Kevin Kiermaier. So Kiermaier hitting for Geyer. Joe Madden wants to get these lefties up against Gregerson.
Some man came up when Jennings went on the bereavement list, and they ended up sending down Gomes to keep him at least maybe till Thursday. See what happens when Alex Cobb is activated. Peralta joining the right-hander also.
Kiermaier, big swing and a miss, 1-1.
First major league home run in Anaheim. How about that? Just a good weekend for him defensively and swinging the bat, but that off-speed pitch, no chance as he opened up.
Yeah, he hit one and he took one away.
Robbed one.
Kevin Kiermaier. He grounds one into center field, and that's a base hit. DeJesus will head around to third, and Kiermaier with a pinch hit single. And now the Rays got something going, and the big hitters are coming up.
Ball right over the middle, over the mound, and no chance for Sogard to get to it. And DeJesus runs one enough that he's get to third easily.
So here's Desmond Jennings. Another opportunity here for the Rays. Jennings is 0 for 3. And he is scuffling big time right now. 4 hits in his last 43 at bats.
And the A's will play for 2 again, as they did when he had the bases loaded and fortunately grounded into the double play.
And he shows butt, and the pitch is way outside. Well, if you're the Rays, your thought process is, we got to get Longoria up in this inning. Missed again. Now it's 2-0. That's Longoria. Myers is after Longoria. To a pitch, bounce to Donaldson. He's got it. Throws to second for one. On to first, double play. Wow. The A's do it again, and the Rays do not score. 9th inning coming up. 3-0. The A's lead.
On Comcast Sportsnet California, it is brought to you by Xfinity, home of the most live sports, and by Toyota, #1 in MPG, durability, and resale value. Toyota, let's go places.
Tropicana Field, game one of this three-game set. A's leading 3-0, and it's the ninth inning. So the A's doing it with pitching and defense tonight. Donaldson to lead it off here in the ninth. New pitcher for the Rays is Josh Lukey. So pitcher number 5 tonight for the Rays. Donaldson tonight is 0 for 3 with a walk. A grip, and he missed it 1-1. Indians ended up beating the Tigers 6-2. So Tribe with a pair of wins over Detroit. And the Tigers now 27-14 with that loss.
And the Indians know each game's worth 2 when you're playing a first place team, and that's been good for Terry Francona and his team to get a couple of victories.
Trevor Bauer got the win. That's the young man. A lot of talk about him.
Right.
He was called up from the minor leagues, and he started tonight, and he got the win for Cleveland. David DeJesus in left, Kiermaier in center, Hannigan catching.
Does Joe Madden have a 50-man roster?
Well, you know what? He's managing like a National League manager right now. Donaldson swings and misses. So Donaldson strikes out for the second time. The A's have now struck out 14 times tonight.
Well, just go back to Francisco Liriano in 2012 when he struck out 16 following the All-Star break at Target Field. Josh Donaldson going after a high pitch. A's won that game 4-3. Sean Doolittle listening in the A's bullpen. Looks like he's going to try to close it out.
So here's Moss, 1 for 4. He doubled leading off the 7th inning, but the A's could not get him home. The Mariners still leading the Rangers at 6-2. Top of the 8th inning in Arlington. Again, that's just a 2-game series between those two teams. Shift is on as always for Moss, and he chased the pitch well outside, 0-2. Astros and the Angels underway. No score in the bottom of the first inning. Feldman and Skaggs. Astros have won 3 in a row and 5 out of 6. They make life difficult for the Angels.
Yes, they do. And it's just a matter when you play them.
In the bottom of the 9th inning, it'll be Longoria, Myers, and then that 5th spot, which who's in that, right? Hannigan. So they moved the DH spot.
Yeah, that was the pitcher spot. So when Nuke came in, they moved him out of the hitting position.
Shallow left center. DeJesus, a long run, goes into a slide and makes a nice catch. So David DeJesus had to run a long ways for that one.
I thought it was interesting as he was dragging his hand, he just picked up all that ground up tire. Watch this great play. Watch the hand of David DeJesus as he comes in. Nice running play. Whoa! He's got that stream behind him, huh? Check this out.
Yep.
Yeah. That's a great play.
It's ground up rubber, folks.
That's what it is.
Not even making that up.
That's it.
Ground up rubber.
So I hope he washes his hands after this game because it has to be a little bit dirty.
2 outs for Cespedes. Cespedes is 0 for 3 with a walk. He has hit a fly ball to left field. He has struck out a couple of times. A's looking for their 17th road win of the year. They have a 16-6 record on the road. Bounced in the hole. Short hop. Backhand. Escobar throws. Nice play by Yunel Escobar. And Josh Lukey has a 3-up, 3-down inning. And we are headed to the bottom of the ninth. A's looking for their 4th consecutive win.
By authority of the Oakland Athletics and may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form, and the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of Athletics Investment Group, LLC.
Here's tonight's Honda player of the game, and it is Coco Crisp, as he hits a double down the right field line in the first inning, his first at bat. Big one, though, was this one. Hanging curveball with a couple of runners on base and 2 outs. Split the gap at right center, driving home Norris and Sogard. And then he scored on John Jaso's base hit. Had to come out of the game with a little stiffness, tightness in his neck. So Craig Gentry has taken over in center. But Coco Crisp helped the A's score their 3 runs with 2 outs in the second inning. Way back then.
So here's Doolittle, and he's got a chance to save it. He's got 2 saves this year, but it's his job tonight. Of course, the closer position has been much discussed about the A's. Who should be doing it? Who's pitching well? Who's not? But tonight it's Doolittle, and his first pitch to Longoria is a swing and a miss, 94 miles an hour.
That's that perfectly thrown fastball chest high. You can see Longoria swinging through it. Figured he's going to get the fastball first pitch, but it is a specialty pitch thrown by Doolittle, one that makes it very difficult for a hitter to catch up and hit. There it is again. Throw it again. I bet you can send him back to the dugout. I mean, these are perfectly thrown, 4-seam fastballs, about belt to chest high, and hitters can drop the head of the bat on a low fastball. That chest high is one that just almost impossible to make solid contact.
0-2 pitch goes upstairs again. This one a little bit too high. Myers will be next, and then Ryan Hannigan. Fastball, foul tip, held on by Norris, and that is out number 1. So he stayed up above the letters, and indeed Longoria didn't have a chance.
Well, see Eric Norris giving the sign, the target. But I asked Sean Doolittle, and he says, I said, how difficult is it to throw this pitch? And he said if he thinks about it too much, but one thing that Derek Norris is doing, and it's typical, he'll give a sign, but he just kind of point up with his fingers. And then right at the last instant, he'll give the target. And so Doolittle thinks about it, then sees the target late, and airmails it up high.
That one right at the knees, and it's a first pitch strike to Will Myers.
That's a get me over. I figured he's going to be taking, and Now see if he changes as far as the location. Evan Longoria, excellent hitter, but check swing in his last at bat. Struck out his first at bat against Pomeranz, and then this at bat against Doolittle.
And it's a quick 0-2.
Oh, back to back down low. Will Myers just frozen.
Up and away with a fastball. Hannigan on deck. He's a right-handed hitter. Pomeranz 2 outs away from another win, his 3rd. Make that his 4th win this year. Right there, strike 3 called. Myers never swung the bat. So when your cleanup hitter doesn't swing the bat and strikes out, that kind of tells you how your team is going.
Well, look at the target again. Exactly where Derek Norris wanted it. Up about belt high, and there it is, perfectly thrown. And just a great setup as Derek Norris getting a lot of the catching now, so these pitchers getting familiar with the pitches that he's calling, the target that he's given, and that was near perfection.
So here's Hannigan.
8 pitches, 6 strikes, 2 strikeouts.
First at bat for Hannigan. Fastball a bit high. Hannigan's had sore hamstring. As we said earlier, he is the regular catcher for the Rays.
And I figure if he caught the top of the inning he's hitting now, he's okay to play. And I think he might be in the lineup tomorrow night. Another lefty and Tommy Malone starting. And now he's got to go down in the zone. Figure Hennigan's up to take a strike. Because in the 9th inning, when you're down by 3, Tommy Malone tomorrow night starting pitcher. If you're down by 3, you're really nobody on base. Your at bat really means nothing as far as just except trying to get on base.
So Doolittle kicks in the 2-0 pitch. Fastball is high. Now 3-0. A's with 5 shutouts on the year as a team. And the 3-0 pitch is a bit high, and it's a 2-out walk. So the Rays still alive. The A's pitchers have walked 5 tonight.
When you look at the bat by Longoria and the bat by Hannigan, Longoria swung at the pitch that Doolittle threw to Hannigan that he never swung at, and he walked in. So on one hand, you look at what Doolittle did to Longoria, and you think Longoria for swinging at the pitches that he could not catch up to. And if it had been taken like Hannigan, it might be a different inning.
Yep.
Might be a couple of on base, or at least changed a little bit for Doolittle.
So here's Logan Forsythe. Fastball is high. James Loney is the on-deck hitter.
Got to gear it down, and I think looking at Forsythe, like Hannigan, is going to be up there until he gets a strike. So put the target right down the middle, belt high or knee high, and let him throw.
Missed again. Now 2-0. Well, I think you're right. What you're seeing now is what happens if you're a little bit selective against Doolittle, which is very hard to do because the pitch he throws looks like a strike. That's a good one.
But really, you go into an inning, you're down 3. The last thing you want to do is be swinging and helping a pitcher, and at least they had the aggressive Longoria. The former athletic closer Grant Balfour starts to throw easily. See,
there
it's
it is.
A strike, and then starts to go up the ladder.
And is it a strike? It's close if he doesn't swing at it.
It hasn't been called.
It's probably a ball.
Yeah, it has not been called. And the surprising one was a 3-0 to Hannigan was not called.
2-2 pitch popped up, and this should do it. Sogard out. And it's going to be Reddick who calls him off. And that's the ball game. So the A's get their 6th shutout of the year. And tonight it was about pitching as they shut down the Rays by a final score of 3-0. So